In my previous life, I was tragically poisoned, betrayed to my face by my woman, all because the apocalypse had arrived. People would turn against each other for a pack of instant noodles. But I've restarted my life, gathering 10,000 times the necessary supplies, transforming into the king of hoarders, ready to enjoy the rumbling, tumultuous life to come. The distant volcano seems to have transformed into an internet troll, frantically spewing scorching magma outwards. On Zhongshan Road, a bus is speeding away from the volcano. The people on the bus are carrying varying amounts of luggage, looking more like refugees than commuters. Just then, a couple sitting in front of me were complaining. It's bad enough that the undersea earthquake a few days ago caused Mount Fuji to erupt, instantly vaporizing hundreds of thousands of people in Japan. Now, we have to evacuate too. The woman was still worried about not bringing enough luggage. As they talked, they mentioned several shocking news stories from recent days. The Walmart in Jiangnan, the warehouses of Alibaba, they've been completely emptied. Hearing this, the woman was astonished at the value of these goods. That must be worth hundreds of billions, right? And I heard that the RT-Mart warehouse in Shenyang has been emptied too. Then a voice rang out, not hundreds of billions, but trillions. And these news stories are just the surface. Just you wait, the apocalypse is coming. It was me who spoke. They not only didn't believe me but mocked me, thinking I was joking. How could there be an apocalypse? Wouldn't that make everyone equal? I'd almost look forward to that. Everyone equal, I scoffed to myself. That's laughable. Even in the apocalypse, there's no such thing as equality. I knew this all too well because I had experienced it firsthand. In my previous life, I was just an ordinary delivery driver. Watching the monsters emerge from the ground, devouring countless humans, I realized the apocalypse had arrived. Due to the abnormal release of solar energy, the Earth's core began to expand rapidly, the atmospheric temperature soared, and the Earth's crust moved frequently, bringing the monsters hidden underground to the surface. The entire Earth had changed, a new Earth, a new order. In that apocalypse of extreme scarcity, even for a pack of instant noodles or a single sausage, you had to give up everything. As I got off the bus, a hand grabbed me. It was the woman who had been sitting in front of me. Little brother, I'm a little scared after hearing what they said. Could you? Of course not. I interrupted before she could finish. I have more important things to do. After getting off the bus and looking ahead, I asked myself a question. What is most important when the apocalypse arrives? The answer was obvious: supplies. In my previous life, my time was wasted searching for supplies. This time, I had to prepare in advance. As soon as I reached the employee entrance, the harsh team leader told me, 21 seconds late, half a day's pay deducted. Whatever. That doesn't matter anymore, I thought. After a quick apology, I walked inside, looking at the dazzling array of supplies on the shelves. In my previous life, the boss ran away before the apocalypse, and I didn't even get a year's worth of salary. These supplies were my compensation. I randomly said a word, space expanded, and the system voice sounded. Detected rice, cooking oil, meat, automatically collecting. The shelves and the supplies vanished at a rapid pace. The warehouse, which had been full of supplies just moments ago, was instantly transferred to another space. This was my ability, space. As long as I expanded my space, everything around me could be taken into a massive cubic space, 10,000 meters in length, width, and height, according to my will. This provided me with immense convenience for purchasing supplies. With this ability, I drained 2 freshwater lakes and scavenged several cities that were destined to be destroyed in the apocalypse. And time within the space was frozen, so food could stay fresh no matter how long it was stored. In the apocalypse, people would fight over a single pack of instant noodles, let alone fresh food. Finally, I wouldn't have to eat dirt like I did in my previous life. I clapped the dust off my hands and began to look at the list of items the system had given me. After collecting so many supplies, I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Suddenly, the warehouse door was pushed open from the outside, and someone said, "Let's move the goods out together." But when they came in, they were all stunned. Holy crap! The entire warehouse was empty. Looking at me standing in the warehouse, the team leader questioned me. Where did all the stuff go? I didn't hide anything. I took it all. 1 second, the Walmart warehouse was full. The next, even the shelves were gone. It was all because I awakened my space ability in the apocalypse, transforming into the king of hoarders, ready to dominate the end of the world. Hearing me say I had taken everything, they instantly went crazy. What the hell did you do, kid? Grab him. Just as they were rushing towards me, a space gate opened behind me. I stepped back and jumped inside. Before leaving, I didn't forget to wave goodbye. Watching me disappear on the spot, they were stunned. At that moment, a portal suddenly tore open in the sky outside, and I jumped out of it, landing stylishly. This was another one of my skills, space jump. It allowed me to travel within a 3-meter range in space. In the apocalypse, with this skill, I could enter abandoned buildings to find supplies and retreat unscathed. Even when facing an enemy empty-handed, space jump could save my life at a critical moment. So, this Ling Yuan shopping action was over. While they were still racking their brains over the missing warehouse goods, I had already left triumphantly. Just then, my phone rang. It was a text message from the government, issuing a disaster warning and telling everyone that it wouldn't affect their daily lives and not to panic excessively. It seemed the government was afraid of causing panic. They knew the apocalypse was coming. As I was thinking about this, a phone call came in. Looking at the name on the screen, my eyes filled with extreme anger and hatred. Jiang Shaoqian. It was her. I answered the phone and heard her say, "Suqian, you're playing hide-and-seek with me, even putting the house up for sale in the middle of it all. How can you be so inconsiderate? Do you think anyone will want you after you sell the house?" The person on the other end of the phone sounded like she had just gotten out of some man's bed, as she continued applying lipstick. "What about your responsibilities as a man? Although I don't care about your house, I am a woman. If you don't give me the house, how can I feel secure being with you?" I didn't want to hear any of this woman's nonsense, so I interrupted her. "Is there anything else?" Seeing that her soft approach didn't work, she started yelling like a shrew. "What's with your attitude? I'm giving you one more chance. Come back now and give me the house, or you can forget about marrying me." Before she could finish, I hung up the phone. "Jiang Shaoqian, we spent 5 years in the apocalypse together in my previous life. I was the one who found supplies everywhere to keep you alive. I was the one who took you into the shelter. If it weren't for me, you would have starved to death in the apocalypse long ago. But this woman..." "Brother, Ching, why have you been coming back empty-handed these days? You haven't hidden all the good stuff, have you? She's useless now. Next, let's..." "Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Her death is her own fault. Whether you're useless or not depends on your performance tonight. In my previous life, I was such a sucker, entrusting my trust and my back to these kinds of people. But this time, Wang Haoyu, Jiang Shaoqian, I will make you pay the price. You won't die easily. I will make you taste the pain I suffered 100, 1,000 times over." Thinking about these things made me very angry, but there were more important things to do right now. After a sigh, I thought about how I would have to buy the remaining items with money, but first, I had to figure out how to get money. I immediately called Manager Liu and told him that I was selling my house for half price. I would accept it, but only for cash, and I wanted it now. When I arrived at Dream Real Estate, the dog couple was already waiting for me at the entrance. Seeing me get out of the car, Jiang Shaoqian immediately questioned me. "Suqian, do you know how long I've been waiting?" "Heh, what a crazy woman," I thought, pushing her aside and walking towards the real estate center. Then, Wang Haoyu blocked my way and said, "Who told you to sell the house? You dare sell our house? Believe it or not, I'll make sure you don't see the sun tomorrow." He even said it was their house. How shameless. Before he could finish, I reached out, grabbed his neck, lifted him up, and slammed him to the ground. At the same time, I told him, "It's my stuff. I can do whatever I want with it. This man stabbed me in the back just a moment ago and cheated on me to my face." The next moment, I grabbed him and slammed him to the ground, all because I awakened my miraculous talent in this rebirth, transforming into the king of hoarders, ready to dominate the apocalypse. "Let go. What are you doing? Help. Save me." As I pinned Wang Haoyu to the ground, I heard him whining beside me. I slapped him hard across the face. Seeing me treat him like this, he was surprised that this former simp suddenly dared to hit him. Just before Wang Haoyu suffocated, I let go of him. I wouldn't let him die so quickly. Seeing me let go, Wang Haoyu staggered back, clutching his neck, afraid I would hit him again. Jiang Shaoqian even ran over to comfort him. I didn't even look at them, turning around and walking into Dream Real Estate. Jiang Shaoqian was still yelling wildly behind me. "Suqian, you better kneel down and apologize before I get angry. Otherwise, you can forget about marrying me for the rest of your life." But when I turned back and glanced at them, they immediately turned around and ran away. What a couple of trash. After entering Dream Real Estate, the manager served me tea and water, saying that he wanted to buy my house. My house, worth over $1 million, was being sold for only $700,000. He would make hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit in a single transaction. Anyone would rush to snatch it up. I agreed immediately, but it had to be a full payment, and it had to be today. Seeing me agree, he immediately took out the prepared contract. With a notification sound, 700,000 was successfully transferred to my account. This made me feel a little more at ease. I was grateful that I was in an inland area, and the various natural disasters that had occurred were far away from here. Plus, the internet was debunking rumors, so life here could continue in an orderly fashion. As I was thinking about this, a small advertisement on a utility pole caught my attention: Fast House Loans. Was this tailor-made for me? I immediately made a phone call. When I arrived at their company and explained my intentions, the boss started probing me. "Handsome, your house isn't worth much." It turned out to be that idiot, Wang Haoyu's older brother, Wang Dehai. The money had died in the mouths of alien beasts. I asked him how much I could borrow. "At most, I can lend you 500,000, but I need to keep the property certificate first." Hearing him say this, I immediately furrowed my brows, pretending to be troubled. I told him that if he added another 100,000 and gave it to me today, I would borrow it immediately, and I told him that I could definitely make a profit within a week. In my words and actions, I resembled a gambler who had lost everything. Seeing my expression, he was completely intent on seizing my house if I couldn't repay the loan. He readily transferred 600,000 to me. As I walked out of there, Wang Haoyu and Jiang Shaoqian also arrived by taxi. I just took back the house that belonged to me. What's wrong with that? That guy actually hit me. He has to pay the price. I'll have my brother teach that grandson a lesson. Why was this couple's dialogue always so childish? Seeing me walk out of the community, they were also curious as to why I was there, so they secretly followed me. In the blink of an eye, I arrived at the Green City Hotel. In my memory, when the disaster struck in my previous life, many commercial buildings collapsed under the impact of the sea and the extreme cold. But the Green City Hotel withstood various natural disasters, and I heard that the presidential suite inside was well-equipped and had a swimming pool. It could be used as a base of operations, and it would be nice to live there for a long time. There was also one thing. Although I had emptied many warehouses earlier, there was no hot food in the warehouse. Seeing me walk in, the front desk manager greeted me. "Hello, I'm Lu Xinrui, the hotel's food and beverage manager. How can I help you?" I asked her directly if I could order 1,000 tables of banquets. Hearing what I said, she was stunned. After confirming twice that she hadn't misheard, she nodded repeatedly. Yes, I can." She thought that the handsome man in front of her was a hidden rich kid. Seeing her agree, I told her that I would pay a deposit of 500,000 first and have it delivered to the address I told her. I would pay her the balance after a week. "Oh, what should I call you?" "Suchin. Are you using it for a wedding?" I casually replied that it was for a wedding and asked her to help me book a presidential suite. After everything was done, I left first because there were still many things to do. As I left, I was still happy. 10 million worth of dishes, and I only paid a deposit of 500,000. As for the balance, in the impending apocalypse, a single ice cube will be worth hundreds of millions. It wasn't just me who was happy. After I left, the food and beverage manager was still immersed in this big order. Wow, he's booking the presidential suite for his honeymoon. Whoever marries him is really lucky. What she said was also heard by the dog couple who had followed me. Watching me leave, they quickly came out and asked, "Hello, I want to ask, what did that person come here for just now?" Lu Xinrui looked at them and asked them who they were to me. Unexpectedly, Jiang Shaoqian actually said that I was her boyfriend. Hearing her say this, Lu Xinrui sized her up and down. On the surface, she told them that I had booked 1,000 tables of banquets here and paid a deposit of 500,000. Marveling at how lucky Jiang Shaoqian was to have such a boyfriend. But in her heart, she thought, "This woman is only a 7 at best, and her temperament isn't even as good as mine. Do rich second generations like this kind of woman now?" Hearing that I had booked 10 million worth of banquets, they were stunned. Based on their previous understanding of me, this was impossible. Seeing their expressions, Lu Xinrui continued, "Rich people love to play the game of hiding their identity. They're just worried that their other half will be after their money. They'll only reveal it on their wedding day." Hearing Lu Xinrui say this, they still couldn't believe that this simp was actually a rich second generation. But when they saw the transfer records on Lu Xinrui's phone, the dog couple was completely petrified. Other than the hotel, Wang Haoyu was still suspicious. "Sis, that's 1,000 tables of banquets at a 5-star hotel. Who is he inviting?" Jiang Shaoqian was clearly overjoyed and even started to get annoyed at herself. "You wouldn't understand this. Of course, it's to introduce me to their rich circle and announce my identity. As she spoke, she began to fantasize about her future life. A scene I never thought possible is actually going to be realized on that simp. A house worth over $1 million, directly mortgaged for $600,000, and then I went to a 5-star hotel to book 1,000 tables of banquets. It's all because the apocalypse is coming. A single pack of instant noodles will be worth hundreds of millions, and I have awakened the space ability. I've transformed into the king of hoarders, ready to dominate the end of the world. Sitting in front of the computer, I began to tally up the accounts for the past 2 days. I sold my house for $700,000, took out a $600,000 loan, and paid $500,000 for custom meals. There are still so many necessities I haven't bought yet, and even with just paying the deposits, the remaining $800,000 won't be enough. It would be a real shame not to grab some online loans at this point. I took photos, had my family do facial recognition, and applied for over 80 loans, ranging from 30,000 to 30 yuan. Looking at the accumulated income, I collapsed from exhaustion. I finally squeezed out 970,000 in online loans. But thinking about how much more I need to buy, I got back up and started again. Things like an ice maker, ice blocks, and anthracite coal. These aren't available in supermarkets, so I'll just buy them online. The delivery is fast. Whether I can survive the coming heat wave and harsh cold depends on whether these two are enough. Then I immediately called and ordered 2,000 tons of anthracite coal, of course, paying a 500,000 deposit first. However, the ice block factory requires a face-to-face meeting to order ice, so I'll go talk to them. As I walked downstairs, I heard someone call out to me. "Oh, isn't that Su-chun? Long time no see. Qian has been thinking about you these past few days." The woman speaking was Li Na, Jiang Shaoqian's best friend, who always badmouthed me behind my back and encouraged Jiang Shaoqian to take my house. I didn't give them the time of day. Thinking about me? Thinking about my house, more like? Seeing my expression, Li Na quickly and awkwardly tried to explain. "Oh, Qian, Shaoqian was just testing you. Why are you so clueless? You're making Shaoqian so sad." Talking wasn't enough. Jiang Shaoqian directly grabbed my arm. "Su-chan, can you walk with me? I wasn't feeling well yesterday and took it out on you. Please don't be mad at me." How could she even say such things? I directly told her I was busy and she could walk by herself. Jiang Shaoqian stood there in surprise, shocked that I was being so cold. She even fantasized that I wanted to give her a surprise. What's going on? This guy's acting too well. Seeing that I actually got into a car and left, she and Li Na quickly took a taxi to follow me. In the blink of an eye, we arrived at the ice factory, where the boss was already waiting for me at the entrance. "You must be Boss Su. You're so young and promising." I didn't have time for pleasantries and directly asked how long it would take to get 2,000 tons of edible ice. 3 days. 3 days for 2,000 tons of edible ice. For 100 yuan per ton, so 800,000 yuan. I directly transferred a 100,000 yuan deposit and told her to deliver it to the specified address in 3 days. Seeing how straightforward I was, she asked what I needed so much ice for and suggested future collaborations with negotiable prices. I directly said, "I'm planning to take it to the desert for charity." Watching me leave in the car, she marveled at the 800,000 yuan order, finalized right at the entrance. Young people are so efficient. As soon as I left, Jiang Shaoqian's car arrived at the ice factory entrance. "Boss, Su-chan is my fiancée. What were you talking about just now?" The boss was immediately stunned, thinking, "What's going on? Is this some kind of detective role-playing?" Then she told her, "Boss Su just ordered 800,000 yuan worth of ice blocks from us." 800,000 yuan worth of ice blocks? I can confirm it now. Su-chan is a second-generation rich. Did he say what kind of big business he's doing? He said he's taking it to the desert for charity. What a surprise. Cut to me arriving at the Yahello restaurant. Now that I've bought everything, I should enjoy the time before the apocalypse. In my past life, I was always busy working. I never had time to go to such high-end restaurants, not even small cafes. Looking at the menu, pan-fried foie gras, salt-baked snow frog, golden juice duck tongue, it's indeed a high-end restaurant with an average spending of 4 digits. Then a page with question marks caught my attention. Looking at the price, 17,000 yuan. The waiter explained that it's a dish prepared by the restaurant's head chef, and the specific ingredients depend on the chef's creativity. That's quite interesting. Then I'll have this one. Soon, a pink-haired girl walked over. "Hello, sir. I'm the head chef of Yahello Music Restaurant. This is a dish I created specifically for you, based on your aura. How could it be her? Demon Slayer Cliff, from the end of the world in my past life. Demon Slayer Cliff has culinary skills that can turn the rotten into the magical. No one can resist that kind of temptation. But those dishes were made with exotic beasts, and eating them is a guaranteed death sentence. Seeing my surprised expression, she continued to explain, this dish is called two-faced life. One side is pan-fried with brown oil over low heat. The other side is deep-fried with puff pastry. It's one steak, two flavors. Unforgettable. That's a good name. After tasting it, it was indeed delicious. This 10,000 yuan is worth it. At this time, those two persistent green TB asterisk cheese followed me to the restaurant entrance, believing that I must be a second-generation rich to be eating here. After finishing my meal, my next stop was a bar. After the apocalypse, there will be no more places of such decadent indulgence. This time, I must challenge my weakness. Handsome, why aren't you drinking? Let me drink with you. The two girls in front of me were constantly raising their glasses, while the girl next to them, named Yunyun, wasn't lively at all. I heard them say that this was Yunyun's first time here, and her boyfriend had just cheated on her. Before they could finish speaking, she toasted herself and downed her drink. Seeing that she couldn't hold her liquor, I reminded her that the drink was strong. After finishing the drink, she slammed the glass on the table and asked if I was single, seemingly drunk. Is that even a question? Of course, I am. Then, would you? Just as Yunyun was about to say something to me, those two followed me to the bar. They came in and saw Yunyun holding my arm and talking to me. Like a toad crawling on your foot, it doesn't bite, it just disgusts you. At this moment, I interrupted Yunyun and asked her to come outside with me. Then I dragged her upstairs. Suchin, you stop right there. I found an empty room upstairs and pulled Yunyun inside. I wanted to explain the matter with the two green tea girls. Before I could say anything, I saw her face was flushed, and she told me that this was her first time and asked me to be gentle. I flicked her forehead. Are you drunk? Wake up. Seeing that she was pitiful, I gave her some advice, telling her to stay home for the next few days and stock up on food. Then I opened the door and walked out. After acting cool, I felt unwilling. This was such a rare opportunity. But those two were kicking down doors, looking for me in every room. With those two idiots around, even if something really happened, I wouldn't have any peace. First go to a high-end restaurant for delicious food, then go to a nightclub bar to find girls. And if I feel good, take them home directly. Just because the apocalypse is about to come, I must seize the time and enjoy life. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The ordered fireplace, ice maker, ice blocks, and anthracite coal were delivered one after another. Among the delivery people, there were two familiar figures, Wang Haoyu and Jiang Shaoqian, that dog couple. Sister Qian, Suchin ran to this district and rented a large warehouse. He bought a lot of machines and is moving them into the warehouse. What exactly is Suchin trying to do? At this time, the 1,000-table banquet I ordered was delivered one after another. As expected of a 5-star hotel, the service was indeed top-notch, and they even laid out a red carpet for me. But this scene made Jiang Shaoqian's anxiety flare up again, thinking that I was going to propose to her. Even if he proposes, I might not agree. Lina, you come with me and see his sincerity. Saying that, she walked towards me and asked what I was buying so much stuff for. This was free labor delivered to my door. So, I told them that if they helped me move things, I would tell them after they were done. Jiang Shaoqian thought to herself, hearing me ask her to work. What a joke. I'm going to be a rich wife. How could I do such manual labor? At this time, her best friend, Lina, immediately said, This must be a test to see if you are qualified to be a rich wife. I have to admire them. Those two have such wild imaginations that they could make a manga commentary. Hearing Lina say this, Jiang Shaoqian immediately changed her expression and quickly agreed, saying that she was not a pretentious woman. She encouraged herself as she worked. To be a rich wife, you naturally have to be both morally and academically outstanding. As long as I can withstand the test, Suchin will definitely marry me today. Seeing Jiang Shaoqian leave her sight, her peeling best friend Lina immediately bent over and shouted, Brother Suchin, I'm here to help too. She also had her own little thoughts. Which rich second generation doesn't like beauty? As long as I perform a little, even if I can't become a rich wife, I can still get a sip of the soup. Watching these two green TB asterisk cheese is more interesting than watching palace dramas. Free labor, why not use it? Even if the hotel's manufacturers sent people, it would take a long time to move all of this. Just as the sun was about to set, All the goods were safely moved into the warehouse. Jiang Shaoqian was so exhausted that she was shaking all over and couldn't even stand. Suchin is too much. We've been moving since morning until dusk, and we haven't even had anything to eat. When I become a rich wife, I will definitely turn all of his property into mine. Lina next to her simply sat on the ground. That bastard actually made us move such heavy things. Those ice blocks weigh more than 100 pounds each. I have to admire them. They are indeed quite strong. Seeing that all the things had been moved, they both expected me to announce the wedding, and then the VIPs would appear one after another. But at this moment, I was busy taking care of those delivery drivers, giving each of them a red envelope of 10,000 yuan, and telling them that I would make up the remaining balance within a week. Seeing how extravagant I was, it dispelled their doubts about the payment. Before I could finish, Jiang Shaoqian couldn't help but come up to me and ask, "Suchin, do you have anything to say to me?" I also directly told her that yes, I had something to say to her. "Thank you very much for helping with the work. You can leave now." Jiang Shaoqian thought I was joking with her. She had already determined that I was doing all of this to marry her, so she asked me to quickly call out the guests and then marry me and have a good life. Hee, get married and have a good life? I have not only sold my house, but I also owe a lot of debt. Would you be willing to be with me? Hearing me say this, she directly shouted, "Impossible. How could you owe debt with your $1 million banquet and tens of thousands of dollars in restaurant expenses?" I looked at these goods and said, "Oh, you're talking about these things. A big boss is planning to do charity and asked me to help him purchase them. Later, he will take them to the desert for poverty alleviation." Hearing the reason, I said, the green TB*TCH finally couldn't help but explode and cried directly at me. "You bastard, you've been lying to me all along." I sidestepped. What a joke. What did I lie to you about? Falling on the ground, she said angrily, "Suchin, you bastard, you are not a rich second generation at all. You will never be able to marry me. Who cares about you? You're just making a lot of noise." Hearing me, she didn't indulge her, took Lina and stormed off angrily. "Garbage, you'll suffer in the apocalypse." Seeing them leave, I quickly locked the gate. The supplies are finally ready. Now just wait for the apocalypse to come. Space unfolds. As I cast Space Ability 1, a burst of blue light flashed on the windows of the warehouse, and all the supplies were taken into my space. In the evening, a familiar voice sounded in the Green City Hotel. "Qian, follow Xiaoyu in the future, and I'll guarantee you eat and drink well." In the business department, my Wang Dahai's words are still effective. Wang Haoyu also chimed in, "Sister Qian, that guy Suchin actually treated you like that. You should have dumped him a long time ago. Stay with me, Sister Qian. Don't worry. I'll have my brother teach that kid a lesson and get revenge for you." Hearing Wang Haoyu say this, Jiang Shaoqian thought to herself, actually, Wang Haoyu is not bad, and his brother is also useful in the business world. It's better to be with him than that dog. This woman really isn't picky. Hearing my voice, Jiang Shaoqian was surprised that I was here. Wang Haoyu immediately reported to his brother, "Brother, that's the kid who attacked me before." Wang Dahai looked in the direction of his finger. "So it's you. I was planning to look for you. I didn't expect you to dare attack my brother. You're bold enough." Wang Haoyu was surprised that his brother actually knew me. Wang Dahai told him that I mortgaged my house to him and borrowed 600,000 yuan, which was due tomorrow. Wang Haoyu was delighted. "So that's how it is, then we can settle the new and old scores together." The green tea duo who were eating melons nearby also mocked. "Dare to owe Brother Hai's debt. I'm afraid you'll never be able to pay it off in this lifetime." Luckily, I didn't get involved with him. Looking at them, I wondered if I could even have a good meal. Wang Dahai also said that the debt was due tomorrow, and I was still here living it up. It seemed that I didn't take him seriously. He didn't believe that I could get 600,000 yuan tonight. Wang Haoyu was already urging his brother's little brother to directly attack me. Just then, the hotel manager, Lu Xinrui, walked over. "What are you doing? Talk nicely if you have something to say." Wang Dahai looked at her and said that it was okay to talk nicely, but she had to make me kneel down and kowtow to his brother to apologize, and then the matter would be over. Hearing her say this, Lu Xinrui asked me worriedly what was going on. I told her that it was nothing, just some garbage. Hearing our conversation, Wang Dahai instantly flew into a rage. "Kid, are you asking for it? You're done for today. No one can save you." A voice interrupted everything. "What are you doing? Who allowed you to cause trouble here?" Both Wang Dahai and I recognized him. This person was Gao Chang. Seeing Gao Chang, Wang Dahai quickly called him Brother Chang and asked him what he was doing here. "I have important things to do today. Whoever causes trouble is going against me. Wang Dahai knew that this Gao Chang was a well-known entrepreneur in name only, but in fact, he had a wide network of contacts in the underworld and couldn't afford to offend him. What I knew wasn't just that. Smasher Gao Chang was a major force in the city during the end of the world in my previous life, and Demon Slayer Cliff was his subordinate. I suddenly thought that I had heard that after the apocalypse, the Green City Hotel was one of the first places to experience reverse mutation. It now seemed that Gao Chang was able to become a smasher thanks to the reverse mutation that occurred here in advance. If that's the case, then I'm sorry, your opportunity is mine. Gao Chang looked at me, surprised at my calm demeanor in front of him. This kid, he's got something. After Gao Chang saw Wang Dahai outside, he took Cliff into a private room. President's son, I've brought Cliff. Cliff's expression was serious. He knew that Gao Chang had brought him here for no good. Seeing Cliff arrive, this president's son passed over a glass of wine that he had just filled. Cliff looked at the red wine in front of him, which clearly still had something that hadn't melted completely. At this time, another hand was shaking the wine glass. In my previous life, Jiang Shaoqian and I hid in the basement and survived the extreme heat apocalypse. I didn't expect that this time I dumped her, but it brought her here. That's just as well. Let's settle the new and old scores together. At this time, through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I also saw Wang Haoyu and his brother. Brother, do you feel that it's hotter at night than during the day? Yeah, that's why I suggested going to the swimming pool to cool off. The girls will be changing into their swimsuits soon. Thinking of the scene later, the foolish brothers were excited. Wang Dahai praised him for being clever. At this time, the green tea duo walked out in swimsuits. I must say, they had good figures, but it was a pity that their hearts were too dirty. Qian, why does the moon look like the sun? Yeah, it's too bright. At this time, a hand grabbed Jiang Shaoqian. My love for you is as bright as this moon. This is the witness of our love. Even the green tea couldn't handle these lines, and what they didn't know was that their love was about to explode. Come on, one glass to the apocalypse, one glass to the moonlight. Welcome back to the end of the world. With a rumbling sound, the moon suddenly turned red, and the entire world instantly heated up. Before they even reached the swimming pool, they were so hot that they ran frantically towards the hotel. At this time, the little brothers who were playing cards in the room didn't know what was going on, and thought they were playing new tricks. The next second, they rushed into the hotel with their bodies flushed red. After entering the room, the three of them jumped directly into the fish tank, which made them feel alive again. Then, a younger guy's simple question, "Where's Haiji?" instantly yanked Wang Haoyu back from his uncle's fish tank. Just then, a voice, practically burning with urgency, echoed from the doorway. It was Wang Dahai screaming for help. Rewind a few minutes to the room upstairs. After pouring the wine, CEO's son was already quite displeased that Duanya hadn't taken a drink. Gao Chang tried to smooth things over, saying a banquet had been prepared, so perhaps they should eat first. But before he could finish, CEO's son cut him off. In Xanadu, the city, no one has ever dared refuse a drink poured by me, son. Little Gao, this doesn't concern you. Meanwhile, Duanya was furious. Gao Chang was endangering her just to curry favor with Sun Debiao. Sun Debiao is a man who can control everything in Xanadu and has harmed countless women. Today, he set his sights on me. There must be something wrong with this wine. I definitely can't drink it, but what can I do? Just as Duanya was hesitating, the moon behind them suddenly flared up with intense light. Fortunately, Gao Chang reacted quickly, pulling the curtains closed. Realizing something was wrong, they decided to go downstairs to see what was happening. The crisis averted, Duanya finally breathed a sigh of relief. Downstairs, the restaurant manager was trying to maintain order. Everyone, please calm down. We've contacted the rescue team. Please wait here for assistance. Gao Chang went downstairs and immediately asked his underlings what was happening. They explained the situation. The moon suddenly became incredibly bright, and the temperature rose sharply. It was now about 70 degrees Celsius outside, and news reports indicated that nearly 100 people had already died. Nearby, Sun Debiao was making phone calls, pulling strings to get someone to come and pick him up. But the person on the other end told him that the authorities were focusing on ensuring the power grid remained stable and that no one was available to come to his rescue. Seeing the expression on Sun Debiao's face as he hung up the phone, Gao Chang knew things were serious. Wang Dahai was having ointment applied by a subordinate, and each touch caused him to scream in pain. Wang Haoyu suggested that his older brother go to the hospital immediately. So, he called one of his underlings, asking him to drive over and pick up Wang Dahai. At that moment, The underling was still in the underground parking garage, unaware of what was happening outside. As he drove out of the garage, he was astonished to see that it was daytime. Predictably, disaster struck almost immediately. Before he had gone far, one of the tires blew out, forcing him to stop in the shade of a tree. Realizing something was very wrong, the underling called Wang Dahai, telling him that the tire was flat and he couldn't come. He told him to figure it out himself. He started running back, but as soon as his foot stepped outside the shade of the tree, the sole of his shoe instantly melted, sticking to the ground and causing him to fall. Only then did he notice several corpses nearby. Just as he was beginning to feel terrified and understand what was happening, he felt his face melting onto the ground. His screams of agony carried over the phone line, scaring Wang Dahai so badly that he dropped his phone. The phone gave off static sounds, and then the underling went silent. In the presidential suite upstairs, the air conditioning automatically kicked on, maintaining a comfortable temperature inside. I lay in bed, covered with a blanket, drifting off to sleep as if the events outside had nothing to do with me. Back at the test shop company, all the equipment crackled under the intense heat and suddenly failed. Wang Dahai was calling Xiao Dao, but no one answered. He figured that the underling was dead. All the hotel rooms were full, so they had to squeeze several people into one room. The duo were freaking out upon hearing this news. Just as they were complaining, the hotel power went out. No power meant no air conditioning. The temperature in the room must have been at least 40 degrees Celsius. The two underlings started stripping off their clothes. Jiang Shaoqian suddenly remembered that I was in the presidential suite. The presidential suite had a pool that Wang Dahai could seize. At that moment, I was swimming in the pool in the presidential suite. In my previous life, the test shop in Xanadu had been left vulnerable because it wasn't repaired. No matter how much manpower was invested, the test shop still couldn't withstand direct exposure. All the users connected to the test shop company lost power. That's why I specifically chose a room with a pool. I also prepared a historical air conditioner and a large power storage system for the palace to maintain the room temperature. Adding ice made it incredibly comfortable. After swimming, I started to feel a little hungry. With a wave of my hand, all kinds of delicacies appeared. On the first day of the apocalypse, a simple breakfast would do. I wondered when Gao Chang's opportunity would arise. Just as I was about to eat, I heard someone knocking on the door. When I opened the door, a rush of cool air flowed out, instantly bringing Wang Dahai to life. Wang Haoyu was also surprised to see the ice in the room and amazed that there was electricity. Suchin, we're all about to die from the heat. Why are you enjoying yourself here alone? That's right. You're too selfish. Get out of this room. Hand it over yourself, or we'll force you to do it. Their true natures were revealed, and Wang Dahai even tried to barge in. But as soon as he stepped inside, I shot him in the stomach. Staring at the blood, Wang Dahai was stunned. I told them that if they took another step, they would die. They were astonished that I had managed to get a gun. Hearing Wang Dahai still complaining, I fired another shot. What are you talking about? Do you want to die? I'm counting to 3. Disappear from my sight immediately. In the hotel lobby, Gao Chang was complaining that the hotel didn't have any food. The manager explained that someone had ordered 1,000 tables of food a few days ago, and all the ingredients were used up. The delivery was supposed to arrive today, but Sun Debiao interrupted him, demanding that all the food and water be brought to his room. His words sparked dissatisfaction among everyone. You're monopolizing all the water and food. You're not leaving us a way to survive. As they were arguing, Wang Dahai limped over, supported by 2 people. Gao Chang immediately recognized the gunshot wound. It seemed there was a ruthless character staying upstairs. Jiang Shaoqian even told everyone about Su Qin's room having electricity, air conditioning, and a pool. They didn't dare to confront Sun Debiao directly, but hearing about Su Qin's room, they seemed to have found a breakthrough. They all rushed upstairs. Gao Chang also arranged for his underlings to follow and see what was happening. When I opened the door again, the cool air made the people at the door feel incredibly comfortable. Some of them said that I should respect the elderly and care for the young. Others asked to borrow my room to cool down, and they even tried to put a hat of helping others on my head. The young punk even tried to grab the fried chicken and rush into the room. I just kicked him more than 100 meters away. Seeing me kick the brat away, they didn't pretend anymore and rushed in. I raised my hand and fired a shot. Whoever got hit was unlucky. A bystander standing in the back was also hit and fell to the ground. Then I told them, I'm alone, but you only have 1 life. This brat wanted to eat my fried chicken, so I kicked him away. These people wanted to occupy my room, so I shot them in the head on the spot. It's all because the global temperature has risen to 100 degrees Celsius. They're all going crazy, but I can blow on the air conditioner, drink red wine, and enjoy life. In Yuqing Hotel, Wang Dahai died because the wound was inflamed and the high temperature didn't last. And Wang Haoyu also naturally blamed all this on me, intending to come to me for revenge. At this time, two familiar voices sounded outside my room's surveillance camera. Chen Ge, I know you can't bear to shoot us. You just scared Wang Dahai. Su Chen, haven't you forgotten how much I love you? That's right. These two are the Green Tea Group. The two also said that as long as I let them in, I can do whatever I want. And I really opened the door and said, come in. Seeing me do this, they're a little unbelievable. So Su Chen, you still love me. Just as the two were about to enter the house, Wang Haoyu rushed over, running and shouting to avenge his brother, but what he didn't know was that I didn't finish what I said just now. You can come in, but anyone who walks into this door has to die. As soon as the words fell, I swung a stick and flew Wang Haoyu more than 300 meters away. Seeing Wang Haoyu's appearance, the Green Tea Group did not dare to mention the matter of entering the house again. At this time, a modified car equipped with tracks and heat-insulating windows stopped at the entrance of the hotel. The people in the house thought that the rescue team had come to save them, thinking that they were saved this time. After the people in the car came in, they first asked everyone to make way, and their goal was to pick up an academician named Lu Zhonghua, and after finding the person, they asked him to wear heat-insulating clothes and leave with them. Seeing this scene, the others exploded. Just now they were excited, thinking they were saved. This gap is too big, and the next words of the rescue team also calmed them down. The rescue team told them that the city has launched a rescue operation, and 12 a.m. is the time of the day when the temperature is at its lowest. These people can go to the nearby rescue point, Silicon Valley Plaza. Hearing this news, they finally breathed a sigh of relief and cheered that they were finally going to be saved. At this time, Sun Debiao rushed out, claiming to be Sun Debiao of Sun's group. Whoever can take him away now will give him an eye, saying that he would come up and grab the heat-insulating clothes. As expected, he was directly subdued by the rescue team. And Sun Debiao, who was controlled, was not convinced and shouted at Gao Chang to grab the heat-insulating clothes for him. At this time, the members of the rescue team also raised their guns at them. Gao Chang is brave, but he is not stupid. Just as the rescue team solved all this and was about to take academician Lu away, Green Big, the Green Tea Group and the boss, referred to as Green Big, was about to start performing again and directly grabbed the rescue team. Brother soldier, wait a minute. There is a madman living upstairs. Green 2 also added fuel to the fire. Yes, that madman has a gun in his hand, and he killed several people just now and almost killed us. Those people who went upstairs to rob just now also nodded repeatedly at this time, asking the rescue team to make the decision for them. The rescue team's Xiao Feng really listened to their words, and then told the team members that he would stay to see the situation, let them go first, and also took his heat-insulating clothes with him, and contacted them after dealing with it. The next second, he went upstairs with a gun, watching Xiao Feng go up. Green Big also began to fantasize about waiting for Su Chen to be shot dead, and he could stay there waiting for rescue. At this time, Xiao Feng also arrived in the corridor upstairs, just when he found a camera in the flower pot. The door slowly opened, and then a tear gas bomb was thrown out. Xiao Feng refused. I grass. The tear gas bomb exploded instantly, which also made Xiao Feng lose the ability to move. And when he was about to retreat, a figure holding a baseball bat gradually approached in the smoke. One stick down, it was 10 minutes later. Xiao Feng slowly opened his eyes and was still surprised where this was. Why is it so cool? I saw me looking at his documents and chanting in front of him. Lu Xiao Feng, deputy captain of the special team, since you were awake, let's talk. I directly asked him if the city had set up a rescue point and planned to let the residents go there themselves at dawn. And he was surprised after listening to me. How did I know this? Looking at his appearance, I also confirmed my idea. It seems that it is similar to what I learned in the previous life. I told him that although the temperature is much lower at dawn, people will still faint for more than 10 minutes under the moonlight, and many people will die on the way to the rescue. Xiao Feng also knew that some people could not survive, but the rescue vehicle was difficult to modify, and many people had already collapsed, and this was also a last resort. Although those people below don't have anything good, I still told him that the quilt and cotton jacket can play a role in heat insulation, and if you don't fall, you can improve the survival rate. After saying that, I raised the gun, and Xiao Feng thought that I was going to kill him, and shouted loudly hoping to use the walkie-talkie to tell them about the quilt, and then kill him. Then I cut the rope with a knife, expressing respect for their rescue, so I won't kill him this time, but there will be no next time. Then I asked him to look up and see what that was. Seeing the machine gun tower above, he was surprised that this was a high-end product with facial recognition, and once this thing was started, no one in the room except me could survive. But this is just a warning. I also know that the rescue team has no time to pay attention to me now. Xiao Feng left after being released, and before leaving, he not only said about the quilt, but did not mention what happened just now to anyone, and even left the gun to me. Seeing the rescue team leave, Sun Debu was also exasperated and slapped a little brother of Gao Chang in the face, scolding him for what he was doing. Why he didn't do it just now? Chang Mao asked Gao Chang how long he would endure. Gao Chang didn't want to endure, but he knew that after the restoration of order, he would have to rely on Sun Debiao's relationship. Just at this time, I interrupted him with a word. The troubled times have come. Gao Laoda is still dreaming of restoring order. Gao Chang was also surprised how I came downstairs, and I smiled with a bucket of ice, telling him that I was here to make a deal with Gao Laoda. Seeing the ice, Chang Mao couldn't help but want to kill me, so that he could take all the ice in my room. I was forced to hold the gun against his chin, telling him not to always reveal his heart. And Gao Chang asked me about the deal with a smile, or Brother Chang has become a Buddha. When we finished talking about the deal, the two of them couldn't wait to put the ice in their mouths, which was also discovered by Sun Debiao, kicking Gao Chang in the stomach. Kicking and warning him, if he doesn't take out any good things, he is dead. This move also completely angered Gao Chang. Sun Debiao, who got the ice, calmed down and began to have the leisure to think about other things, looking at Duanya, joking that he is so hot and doesn't take off his clothes, really enough restraint. Saying that he would start and pull Duanya into the house to cheer up. Duanya is not an ordinary person, slapped Sun Debiao's big face, which also made Sun Debiao completely lose patience, directly starting to tear Duanya's clothes. Looking at Duan, in disheveled clothes, he declared that he would execute him on the spot, and at this time, a voice interrupted him. Sun Debiao, too much, right? Hearing Gao Chang speak, Sun Debiao, who was about to turn around and scold, was directly stabbed into a big hole with a knife, and fell to the ground with pain, which was one of the deals between me and Gao Chang. Kill Sun Debiao, control this place, so that the opportunity can come faster. After dealing with Sun Debiao, Gao Chang also revealed to everyone, from now on, I'm the one calling the shots here. Everyone else either rolls out to the rescue point or dies here. As for me, I'll just be a bystander, watching everything unfold from upstairs. Sun Debiao was tossed outside too, to keep Wang Dehai company. Meanwhile, in Gao Chang's room, the green tea duo, a derogatory term for manipulative women, were begging him to share a little ice water. They pleaded that they would do anything if he just gave them a little. Gao Chang threw the nearly empty bucket at them. You took my ice water, so you'll do whatever I tell you to do. At this point, Gao Chang's crew had no intention of going to any rescue point. In the apocalypse, you have to rely on yourself to survive. Plus, it was a kilometer away, and there was no guarantee they'd even make it alive. Chang Mao, long hair, one of Gao Chang's cronies, couldn't understand why they were taking in these pieces of trash when supplies were already scarce. Of course, this was one of my transactions, to keep the green tea duo alive so they could fully enjoy this apocalypse. In the blink of an eye, it was midnight. The green tea duo, carrying blankets, blended into the crowd, trying to sneak out of here. The two of them were dreaming that once they got to the rescue point, they'd be eating meat and drinking soda. Before they could even get out the door, Chang Mao caught them red-handed. Chang Ji, Brother Chang, gave you ice water, and now you want to leave? That's not very respectful, is it? Besides, didn't you say you'd do anything? Well, how about you keep me company first? He said, reaching out to tear open Jiang Shaoqin's pants. Scene change. People leaving the hotel were slowly walking through the intense heat, wrapped in thick blankets. Some of them didn't want to take the risk, but ever since Gao Chang took control of the hotel and cut off water and food, staying there meant certain death. They gambled that they might have a chance if they went to the rescue point. But once they got outside, they realized it was even hotter than they'd imagined. Even though they'd strapped cloth to the bottom of their shoes, they could still feel the ground burning. Suddenly, an old man in the group collapsed. As soon as his body hit the ground, it began to melt. He struggled, screaming for help, but at that moment, everyone was unsure if they would survive, let alone help someone else. In the apocalypse, you have to ensure your own survival first. Back at the hotel, Wang Dahai and Sun Debyo abruptly opened their eyes. The whites and blacks of their eyes were gone, leaving only fiery red pupils. They let out a ferocious roar. I was still upstairs, reminiscing. In my last life, I went to the rescue point just like them. But back then, nobody told me to bring a blanket. That short, 1-kilometer trip claimed countless lives. Downstairs, Changmao was about to make his move on the green tea duo. Jiang Shaoqian, still unaware of the situation, was even thinking about going back to the room because she didn't want to be embarrassed in front of everyone. Hearing what she said, Changmao burst out laughing. You shameless bitches are shy now? What are you afraid of here? Ghosts. No sooner had he spoken the words than a fiery red hand shattered the glass. Immediately after, the mutated Wang Dahai and Sun Debyo walked in, emitting zombie-like growls as they advanced. Seeing Wang Dahai and Sun Debyo transformed like this, Wang Haoyu feared that being bitten might also cause him to turn into a zombie. Clearly, this kid had watched quite a few zombie movies. These words served as a reminder to Gao Chang, who immediately grabbed Wang Haoyu and tossed him forward to verify if being bitten would cause transformation. Wang Haoyu was in so much pain that his eyes rolled backward. Sizzling sounds were heard from his back. Even before his hand made contact with them, Gao Chang felt that their temperature was terrifyingly high. Get out of the way. With that shout, I stood before Wang Dahai and Sun Debyo. Changmao whispered to Gao Chang, does this guy plan on dealing with the zombies? Gao Chang told him, let's wait for him to kill the zombies, then we'll kill him. They didn't know that in the apocalypse, people who die after being exposed to the sun undergo a mutation, but they aren't zombies and can't transmit the transformation. They're more like the Hamba drought demon, described in the classic of mountains and seas. That's why I call them Hamba. The two Hamba roared as they approached me. I knew that these Hamba still retained some of their memories from when they were alive, or perhaps they could be considered obsessions. In the last life, Gao Chang probably killed them. This allowed him to take up the obsession to seek revenge. That's why I say Gao Chang's opportunity lies here. With a single slash, a purple crystal shot out from Sun Debyo's head and was immediately grasped in my hand. This life, it's mine now. Wang Dahai was still lunging towards me, so I jumped up and kicked him towards Gao Chang and the others. I waved my hand and told them to enjoy themselves. Gao Chang quickly grabbed the already unconscious Wang Haoyu and once again pushed him towards the Hamba. He even pushed the Hamba towards the puddle of water, intending to deal with it this way, preparing to fight Wang Dahai. As they were fighting desperately, I was upstairs pouring golden river into a glass. In the apocalypse, Hamba and mutated beasts are like clocks. Occasionally, this golden river will appear. It's good to have one in every 100. It's very rare. As long as the golden river is cleaned and swallowed directly, the body can absorb the golden river energy. Without another word, I poured the golden river into my mouth, and immediately, a burst of scorching energy erupted from my body. The massive energy shattered my clothes, and the intense pain caused me to pass out on the ground. Meanwhile, Gao Chang and his group were indeed skilled. They wasted a lot of water, but they managed to deal with the Hamba Wang Dahai. The two green tea girls wanted to take the opportunity to escape, but they were caught again by Changmao. Li Na, frightened, came up with a miraculous idea, saying it could be used to deal with Su Chen. Changmao urged her to speak quickly, threatening that if she tried to trick them, she was dead. Jiang Shaoqian is Su Chen's fiancée. If they dealt with her at Su Chen's door, Su Chen would definitely open the door, and then they could take the opportunity to sneak attack him. Jiang Shaoqian looked at her good friend, almost biting through her teeth, but after looking at the vicious Changmao, she reluctantly said, I can cooperate, but I'm hungry. You have to give me meat to eat first, then I'll go. Meat? There's no electricity, the meat in the fridge is all rotten. I want to eat meat too. Before Changmao could finish cursing, Gao Chang interrupted him. You want to eat meat, right? Then do it yourself. With that, he handed Su Shaoqian a knife, and two of his men held Li Na up. Are you saying the meat on her body? Li Na looked at Su Shaoqian, who had completely changed her expression. In the next second, Su Shaoqian took the knife from Gao Chang's hand and walked towards Li Na. Seeing that Jiang Shaoqian was serious, Li Na was terrified. Shaoqian, we're sisters. You can't do this. Stop lying to yourself. We're not sisters. Besides, you just had them betray me. After speaking, she grabbed the knife and stabbed Li Na repeatedly, probably over 200 times. Don't blame me. You can only blame yourself. This scene stunned Gao Chang and the others. This woman is really ruthless when she gets going. Fake sisterhood is no joke. At this time, Su Shaoqian was still laughing like a madwoman. Su Chen, after I'm full, I'll go up and drink your blood. Gao Chang then told Cha Mao to find Duanya and have Duanya cook the meat. Our brothers need to be full of energy to deal with Su Chen. Seeing Chang Mao's hesitant expression, Gao Chang explained, without water, we won't last another day. If you don't want to become a zombie, do as I say. Hearing Gao Chang's words, Cha Mao had no more concerns and directly ordered people to bring Duanya. At this moment, I suddenly opened my eyes, moving around the room, feeling the changes in my body. This is the power of physique. I feel my heat resistance has improved, and my muscles and strength have increased. Then there was someone at the door. I looked at the monitor. It was Duanya. Gao Chang and the others are crazy. I can't stay downstairs anymore. This is my only hope, and thankfully I still have value. Just as Duanya was still thinking, I directly opened the door and asked her what she needed. Seeing that I wasn't wearing clothes, Duanya's eyes instantly looked down, stunned. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. After entering the room, I told her directly that my own resources were limited, and we were only acquaintances, and I couldn't take you in because you're pretty. As I spoke, I thought to myself, according to my memories from the previous life, she is a very strong woman, and only has a collaborative relationship with Gao Chang. Although I thought about subduing this woman, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Hearing me ask her, she quickly stated her advantages. Besides being a chef, I am also an outstanding graduate of Southwest Medical University, with a medical qualification certificate and 3 years of experience as a surgeon. As she spoke, she observed my room. Seeing that I had electricity and ice cubes, indicating so many resources, she needed to show her value even more to stay. I didn't expect you to be a doctor. This condition is indeed tempting, but resources are scarce now, and we don't know if we can survive until tomorrow. Seeing that I wasn't interested in these, she panicked and said directly, as long as you don't kick me downstairs, I can do anything. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. If you put it that way, Miss Duan, make yourself at home. Seeing that I agreed so readily, Duanya felt that she had said the wrong thing, and was a little regretful at this time. After agreeing, I warned her that she only had one choice in front of me, and that was to be obedient, and don't have any schemes. Otherwise, hearing me say this, Duanya also said that she understood, and seeing that she was so sensible, I praised her. But then I told her to take off her clothes, and Duanya looked surprised. Now, we have to start now? There is electricity, water, food, and a bath. You don't need to worry about the hot weather, or being eaten by others, let alone being. Thinking of this, Duanya also fell into deep thought, thinking that this Su Chen must not be a decent person, and what he will do later is what men think about. Thinking of the scene later, Duanya also retracted her thoughts. Forget it. Anyway, I had thought about it before coming up. Looking at Duanya in the surveillance, I really don't know what she was thinking. However, I am not here to peek. It is impossible to let me believe you when you just arrived. Only this way can avoid some hidden dangers. After a while, Duanya walked out wearing the clothes I gave her. Su Chen, are these clothes too small? Looking at her curvy figure, I said affirmatively, not small at all. It's perfect. Just as I was admiring Duanya's nurse outfit, there was a rapid knock on the door. Help! Su Chen opened the door. Su Chen, come out and save me. Su Chen, if you don't come out, I'll smash the door. From the sound, I knew it was Su Xiaoqian and Gao Chang. Just as I was about to open the door, Duanya grabbed me. Opening the door, those people have already eaten Li Na. If we open the door, we will. Hearing this, I was startled. Are you saying they are eating people? As I opened the door, I saw Gao Chang and the 3 of them surrounding Su Xiaoqian, who was calling for me to save her. Seeing me coming out, the eyes of the 3 of them turned fierce. Seeing them, their eyes were red, and their veins were bulging, and the people who had ambushed at my door were already prepared, holding knives waiting for me to come out. As I walked out the door, she jumped directly, holding a knife and stabbing at my face. I directly broke her arm and stabbed the knife into the back of her neck with a backhand. Seeing my reaction and skill, Gao Chang and the 3 of them were also stunned. At this time, Su Xiaoqian was taking advantage of their moment of stunness, trying to run towards me, while running and shouting. Su Chen saved me. Just as she was about to approach me, I grabbed her by the throat and held her down. Looking at her, I knew that once people ate the same kind, their bodies would mutate, and sharp teeth would grow in their mouths. Now, they are no longer human. In the end of the world, as long as they can survive, so what if they eat people? Su Xiaoqian was strangled by me, and her mouth didn't stop. The meat is so delicious, and after eating it, My whole body is full of strength. So Suchin, I can't wait to taste your taste. While speaking, she kept reaching out to grab me. Hearing her talking so much nonsense, I kicked her away and threw her out of the window, but the green tea still grabbed the window frame, struggling to climb up, and kept talking to herself. Suchin, I won't let you go so easily. Only at this time did she react. She was completely exposed to the sun, and she would be burned alive in a while. The matter here was just over. Gao Chang and the others rushed over, wanting to take advantage of the fact that I didn't have a gun to kill me. I told them disdainfully that dealing with you few. Do I need to waste bullets? Seeing that I looked down on him so much, a weak chicken took the lead and rushed up, using a move to give me a display. Before I could finish speaking, you came up, and what I wanted to say was, I'd just like to waste bullets, to take away one more gun directly, with a look of bewilderment before his death. Seeing me take out the gun, the remaining few people also dispersed, wanting to win with their now strengthened strength and speed, thinking that I could not hit them with the gun, and then rushed to me with confidence. Really beyond their own capabilities, before he could even punch, I grabbed his hair, pressed his head down, and smashed it directly on the ground. Didn't anyone tell you not to keep long hair in a fight? On the other side, Baldy also stabbed my neck with a knife. Just as I was 0.01 millimeters away, I was pressed down. I took the knife and swept it across. Double kill. Gao Chang rushed towards me roaring at this time. Sure enough, they're good teammates. They all come up to send themselves up one by one, and I pressed him against the wall with a throat lock. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't break free. The next second, I ended his life, and he didn't understand why. Why was he called Gao Chang and not Gao Qiqiang? At this time, there was a bang outside the window, and a monster with a tail jumped out. Jiang Shaoqian? Looking at her, I was surprised that she mutated so quickly. It seems that her obsession is very deep. Leaving Gao Chang here, I said to Jiang Shaoqian, then I'll kill you again. She seemed to understand what I said. After I finished speaking, Jiang Shaoqian let out bursts of roars, her voice full of hatred. 1 second she was asking me to save her, the next she was grabbing at me. I directly kicked her away, saying that not only was she not dead, she had transformed into a monster and wanted to fight me one-on-one. Duanya was watching me from the side at this time, marveling at how I had single-handedly killed Gao Chang and his gang, but felt very dangerous when she saw the monster in front of me. I have to think of a way, since I want to stay by Su Chen's side. I can't be a burden to him. The next second Duanya called me, and when I turned to look over, she was already holding a long whip that she didn't know where she picked up, saying that she wanted to help me deal with Jiang Shaoqian. Help me? It's already good enough that you haven't been scared into hiding, but then again, the way you look now will only distract me. How can I safely fight the monster with her dressed like this? Jiang Shaoqian seemed to understand our conversation. I'm already this scary, and you guys are still flirting? You don't even see me as a person. Then she let out a rough, angry roar, charging towards me while yelling. Taking advantage of me talking to Duanya, she directly slashed at me with a claw. Duanya exclaimed in shock, thinking I was done for. However, her full force strike only tore my clothes. As floating runes appeared on my body, I activated the Berserker passive skill. Seeing this outcome, Jiang Shaoqian blurted out, "Holy shit." Then she moved behind me, wanting to try a different attack method. The next second, she opened that stinky mouth of hers and bit down. It felt like she bit into steel. She almost broke her teeth. You've had your turn. Now it's mine. Immediately, I grabbed her hands, leaped up, and performed the old man riding a bicycle move, stomping on her back and pulling her arms behind her. The next second, I pushed off with my feet and yanked hard, directly tearing off both her arms. This hurt her so much that she screamed. I originally wanted to make you suffer more in this apocalypse, to torture you to death slowly. But now I have to kill you early. However, she suddenly rolled up the high wall next to her, tearing open her entire upper body like a mouth and swallowing it. As the high wall and her whole body were swallowed, her hands started to grow back. The next second, she was restored to her original state and started roaring at me again, as if saying, "How about that? Am I awesome or what?" Honestly, this move really surprised me. Duanya next to me also realized things were not good. But I said, "Great." Hearing me say that, Duanya thought I was scared out of my mind. She thought she was losing. But I smiled because having regenerative abilities meant she wasn't going to die easily, and it also meant I could tear her apart many times. As soon as I finished speaking, I disappeared from my spot and appeared behind Jiang Shaoqian. I grabbed her arm and said, "Let me see how many times your body can grow back." Let's start with the left hand. I tore off her left hand, then her right. At this point, her expression showed some helplessness. When I tore off her right hand, she let out a painful roar. But that wasn't the end of it. Next came her tail and legs. Soon, her limbs grew back again. Looking at her, I smiled and asked, "Ready?" The second time is starting soon. Then came the third time. By this point, she felt like she didn't want to live anymore. Fourth, fifth, eighth time. It turned out that not only limbs but even eyes and tongues could regenerate. 16th time, even internal organs could grow back. It seemed like everything except her head could regenerate. What's wrong? Are you already giving up after only 21 times? At this point, Jiang Shaoqian actually cried, asking me why. You're asking me why? Before I get angry, kneel down and apologize. She died because of her incompetence. If there's a next life, I will make her repay 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Of course, for revenge. As I said the word, revenge, I stomped her to pieces with one foot. Seeing my current state, Duanya couldn't help but ask if I was okay. When I turned around and asked her, "Are you ready?" she was also frightened by my gaze. Ready for what? For a reward, of course. I was so heroic just now. Shouldn't you give me some reward? Reward, here. At the Engineering University subway station, within the circle origin point, the city's temperature seemed to be returning to normal. Could the apocalypse be ending? As the two were discussing this, Xiao Feng suddenly called out to the captain because she noticed many people approaching the circle origin point in the distance. When the captain turned around, she realized those weren't people. They were all hamburger zombies. It's a zombie hive. Seeing these zombies, the captain immediately reacted, telling Xiao Feng to notify the people below to evacuate the circle origin point. I'll hold them off. How could Xiao Feng let the captain stay there alone? Until the captain told her, that's an order, did Xiao Feng reluctantly leave, not forgetting to remind her, Captain, don't die. The zombies had already started charging over. Shut your crow's mouth and get out of here. This scene shifted. Runes lit up on my body. Next, I'll let you experience the power of a berserker. What? Hylon, how many times is this already? The extreme heat disaster is over. I have to go out for a trip. Of course, I have to leave you with some unforgettable memories. Seeing that I was still going to exercise, Duanya fearfully asked me, can I go with you? That depends on whether you're really obedient. Omitted 20,000 words here. As night fell, I extended my left hand, activating my spatial ability. A cross-country vehicle appeared in front of me. In the previous life, many Han overlords had an obsession with going to rescue points, which led to the formation of zombie tidal waves attacking rescue points. Many civilians and soldiers died in the tidal wave attacks, which also caused a large number of firearms to be scattered, thus forming various examples. Just as I was reminiscing, several small thugs blocked my way. Are you kidding me? They dared to block a car to rob at this time. As I stepped on the gas pedal, they exclaimed, "Holy crap." The next second, they were all knocked away. I drove away, carefree. In the blink of an eye, I arrived at the Engineering University subway station. Looking at the collapsed ground, I knew it was caused by the intense heat. I am assuming that the intense military battles had caused the collapse, coupled with the tidal wave attacks. It resulted in the collapse. Looking at this, there were probably several thousand people below. Looking at the pairs of red eyes in the darkness, they must have been attracted by the sound of the car. It was a pity that not all Han overlords had golden shells in their heads. Cracking open each skull was a waste of time. I should check the situation in the school first. Speaking of which, this was the first time I had returned to the Engineering University after graduating. After entering the campus, I put the car in my space. As I walked into the experimental building, two Han overlords directly blocked my way. They were both chained. A voice came from behind the Han overlords. Stop. Looking towards the source of the sound, there were three little Calamus behind the Han overlords. Why are there always three? Can't you debut without missing 3 people? After stopping me, they wanted me to hand over my backpack. At this time, I took out a chicken leg from my backpack. As expected, seeing the chicken leg, they acted like they had seen their goddess, shouting, "You still have a chicken leg at this time. Throw it over." Quickly throw the chicken leg over. I smiled slightly and threw it in front of them. The next second, the 3 of them started to compete to snatch it. This was the apocalypse. As I slowly pulled the line back, the 3 of them were stunned. Sorry, you're not worthy to eat this chicken leg. Seeing the food that was about to be in their hands being taken back, they picked up their weapons and wanted to beat me up. I still preferred to waste bullets, raising my hand and firing 3 shots. While going upstairs, I was still thinking, I don't remember there being so many RBs in the previous life. Could it be that my reminders allowed more people to survive? Then I arrived at the reptile biology lab. I pulled off a section of the door lock. It seemed that no one had entered this lab for a while. Walking in, a rotting smell assaulted my senses, and it seemed that many snakes had died. After a while, I finally found it, the leader of the venomous snakes in the azure water, the reticulated python. Looking at the snake head in its mouth, so that's how you survived. In the previous life, this snake was the first to start breeding and mutating, and it ate many people. Even I almost died in its mouth. A week later, the flood would come, and it would start to mutate. I don't know how much it can breed in this week. It would be troublesome if I couldn't beat it then. Just as I was thinking, it suddenly looked at me. Looking at its eyes, I felt like this snake had evolved a trace of intelligence. It seems that I have to be cautious. Suddenly, there was a faint sound of footsteps. My intuition told me that there was someone outside. At the entrance, 3 people with guns were yelling outside. I know you are hiding inside. I thought to myself that this was a critical time, and I couldn't be disturbed by them. Before I could act, a figure suddenly darted out and shouted, "You dirty woman. So you are hiding here?" It seemed these people were looking for her. The woman didn't waste any time and started fighting. With one move, the fatal scissor kick instantly killed 2 people. Upon landing, she bounced up and restrained the remaining person. Then, with a snap, she twisted his neck. The whole movement was fluid and seamless. I couldn't help but praise her for her skills. When she saw me pointing a gun at her head, she thought I was with those people. The next second, she struck back, hitting my gun off with an elbow. Then, she jumped up and clamped my head, trying to twist my neck. However, she realized that no matter how hard she tried, I wouldn't budge. At this time, I seemed to smell an expired seafood smell, and it almost made me sick. When I pointed the gun at her again and asked her who she was, she had already been professionally tied up by me. She truthfully answered my question. "I am the captain of the Songhu Special Operations Unit, Bite Song. I advise you to be careful and let me go immediately." "Songhu team?" I remembered that Lu Xiaofeng was also from there. So I asked him if he knew Lu Xiaofeng. Hearing that I actually knew Xiaofeng, he lowered his guard and began to tell me what had happened before. I was eating a steak while listening. From what he said, a group of fugitives occupied the school and took students hostage, stealing their weapons. The cause was when Sher Chao attacked the rescue point. Xiaofeng's civilian group was mixed with prisoners. After listening to him, I ate the steak and said that it was not their fault that this happened. Then I untied his rope and handed him the gun. I said that I had too many things to do and could only give him some firepower support. Seeing that I was unwilling to go, he didn't force it. He told me that he planned to sneak into their lair because only by taking back the plundered supplies could the people trapped in the school survive. So this might be our only chance to meet. Hearing these words, I shivered all over. Wait a minute. Just as he turned around, I suddenly called him. Then I reached into my backpack. The next second, I took out a large-caliber sniper rifle and said righteously, "Xiaofeng is my brother. I'll go with you." At this time, inside the administrative office building, a man in a red vest asked his subordinate how things were going. The subordinate said that the brothers had arrived and they would definitely take down the students in the dormitory this time. The man in the red vest also told him to let the disobedient ones go to the front and die first. Suddenly, the door was kicked open, and I walked in slowly. "Sorry to interrupt your meeting." Seeing that I could actually get here, the subordinate panicked and asked, "How did you get in? There are more than 20 people guarding outside." "You're asking me how I got in?" I pointed at his head and said, like this. Then I made a pop sound, and the subordinate's head exploded directly. At this time, everyone in the room was stunned. What was going on? They were just pointed at, and their heads exploded. My hand was still pointing at them. I warned them not to move, or they would die. At this time, Bite Song looked at the sniper scope and said that the target had been eliminated. Seeing that there were still many people in the room, he reminded me that the situation was very dangerous and regretted agreeing to my plan to lure the enemy alone, feeling that the risk was too great for me. Before coming, I told him that I would lure the enemy out later, and he just needed to shoot whoever I told him to. But now Bite Song blamed himself for agreeing to my ridiculous plan. However, when he looked at the lens again, he found that the curtains in the room had been drawn, which made him anxiously contact me immediately, asking me why the curtains were drawn and how I was doing. But from the earphones came the voices of those fugitives. "You brat, don't think you can do whatever you want by placing a sniper outside. Hearing this, Song knew that he had been discovered and immediately picked up his gun and ran downstairs frantically. While running downstairs quickly, he also told me to stall for time, and he would come to rescue me immediately. But what was returned from the earphones was a voice saying, "Kill him." Hearing this, Song also felt bad. It was too late. On the way here, he also believed that I must have been killed. Just as he broke in, he was shouting, "Suchin, I'm here to avenge you." The next second, I told him, "You're too late. There are no supplies here." What he saw was that I had already wiped out everything. Just before Song rushed in, I had already put the supplies into a space. Before dying, the mixed boss threatened me that if he killed him, the people behind him would not let me go. Listening to his ridiculous dialogue, I directly twisted his neck and told him not to worry. Those people would come to him soon. At this time, Song, who had just arrived at the scene, was directly stunned by everything in front of him. "Did you do all this?" I explained to him that I usually do 100 push-ups every day, so my physical fitness is better. In addition, these people may be hungry and lack strength because they have no supplies. Hearing me say this, Song wondered if someone could search them, and he also worried about what to do with those students, and he muttered about what to do with those students. Looking at Song, I thought that if there was a real need, I would consider giving them some of the materials that I had just put in the space, but it would depend on their performance. Then I called Song to go to the girls' dormitory with me. When he didn't understand why he was going to the girls' dormitory, I told him that I had just asked those people, and Xiao Feng and other students were gathered there. Just after we left here, among the hanged corpses, there was a figure that suddenly opened its eyes. Obviously, everything that had just happened was seen by him. Not long after, a man named Gangya came to the administrative building. As he walked, he was still fiddling around, thinking that the guy had run out to mess around again. He didn't know if he was dead this time. Suddenly, the subordinate shouted that he had found the woman and the captain was still alive. Gangya was a little disappointed that the woman was still alive. But disappointment was disappointment. He still asked his subordinate to put the woman down. Then the sister had been pretending to be a prisoner for several days. He asked her if she had found the gall you wanted. That sister said that she almost lost her life these few days and asked Gangya to comfort her. But the next second, Gangya took out a long whip with thorns and whipped it over without hesitation. He almost beat his sister to death with a whip. After a random whipping, Gangya asked him how she felt. The sister had a face of enjoyment, obviously already feeling great. These two people were playing really exciting. Seeing that the sister was feeling good, Gangya quickly asked him if she had seen anyone robbing the supplies, but he told Gangya that the person was a demon. I only knew that his name was Suchin at this time. I also found Xiao Feng and the others in the girls' dormitory with Song. Seeing me, Xiao Feng was also wondering how I was here. Song also looked at me and asked Xiao Feng with a question. This person said he was your savior. Seeing that he was almost exposed, I quickly changed the subject and asked about Xiao Feng's injuries. I also asked him to open the wound for me to take a look. As the gauze was removed, Xiao Feng said that he didn't understand why the wound was getting worse and worse even though there were only a few ordinary scratches. Of course, I knew that this was caused by gluttony. Their fingernails were full of viruses. If they didn't use medicine, they would be in danger of their lives. Xiao Feng helplessly said that medicine was a scarce resource now, and it was impossible to find it in ordinary places. If he died like this, he was really unwilling to give up. The next second, I stuffed the compound medicine into Xiao Feng's hand. The two of them were dumbfounded when they saw me. "Are you Doraemon? How can you have so many medicines in your bag? Didn't I say earlier that I was a savior?" But I also had my own little thoughts. According to the memory of the previous life, there was a man in the UNGO organization who had a combat power comparable to a humanoid nuclear bomb, and his name was Function. If that person was Lu Xiaofeng, then my investment would not be a loss. Xiaofeng didn't bother to be polite to me, and after putting away the medicine, he said that he owed me a favor, but he knew that I was definitely not here just to give him medicine. Then I solemnly told him the news that the Great Flood was coming soon, and that you needed to evacuate quickly. Seeing their stunned expressions, I also explained that the extreme heat had caused the glaciers to melt rapidly, causing seawater to pour in. The entire school would be flooded by then, but before I could finish, a voice interrupted me, saying, "Nonsense, where did the flood come from? I think you just want to drive us away, and then monopolize the school's resources." Looking at this second B, I remembered that his name was Fong Qing, and that he was a rich second generation, a famous troublemaker in the school, specializing in creating male-female opposition. Then he set his sights on my bag, thinking that there must be something to eat in my bag, and before anyone could reply, he grabbed it directly. Of course, the result of this second bee being with me was a slap directly. Seeing that his teeth had been knocked out by me, he stayed where he was, not knowing whether to thank me or thank me. My actions won the glory of the whole place, and they all shouted that they had long since disliked him. Isn't it just because his family has a few stinky money, and they were quickly driving him out? Seeing this scene, I also sighed that you don't have a good reputation, but this second bee was still roaring, saying that he was going to find his dad to kill all these people. Bite-song was a little soft-hearted when he saw him running out, and asked if something would happen to me, but not surprisingly, something happened the next second. Just after Fong Qing walked out of the girls' dormitory, a hand stretched out to him, and then he saw Gangya grabbing Fong Qing and asking him where Su Chun was. After explaining the flood, I also left here. After all, there was a more important net police snake waiting for me. I didn't know if I could gain the ability to control water after you mutated and harvested him. As I was thinking in the room, a cry for help came from the side. Su Chun, save me. Turning around, it turned out to be Fong Qing and his gang. Seeing his embarrassed appearance, I joked that you found your dad so quickly. Gangya, who was behind him, said that he was from the purification base, and Gangya was a little disappointed to see that I looked so harmless. Hearing the words purification base, my expression also became serious. Gangya then opened the car door and said he was going to give me a meeting gift. As the iron door slowly opened, it was full of sweat scars. At this time, Gangya stood on the car, confidently looking at me. Su Chun, are you ready to die? As the sweat scars got closer and closer, how should I deal with all of this? Hearing the roar of the zombies outside, Bite-song and Xiaofeng instantly reacted to the direction of Su Chun. After determining the location of the sound, Bite-song told Xiaofeng to go and take a look first, and let Xiaofeng take people to guard here. But Xiaofeng disagreed. After all, Su Chun was his life-saving benefactor, so he immediately wanted to go with Bite-song. At this time, outside the school, Gangya was laughing loudly because he was about to kill me. Seeing my must-die situation, Gangya joked that Su Chun, this woman is your classmate, right? I will give you a chance to save the beauty by being a hero. As long as you kneel down and beg me, I will let her go. Watching Steel Teeth's smug expression, I said that saving her wasn't out of the question. Hearing my words, Fong Qing seemed to grab a lifeline. Really? Su Chun, that's great. Then quickly kneel down and beg her to let me down. But when I continued by saying that saving her was possible, but there was a problem, her face immediately changed. What problem? Aren't you going to save me? You clearly said you would save me just now. As she spoke, her tone shifted from questioning to a roar. You're the one who said you'd save me. How can you go back on your word? Are you even a man? Looking at Fong Qing's face, I wasn't surprised at all. Then I told her, of course, I'm a man, but I'm not worthy of saving you. How about I help you contact those gentlemen from abroad? Don't you admire foreigners? See if they're willing to save you. At this point, Fong Qing already sensed that I was teasing her. But to her credit, she was still stubborn. Not understanding the situation, she continued to yell at me. Su Chun, do you think I'll grovel and beg you to save me? It proves that you're just a complete piece of trash, and I don't need a piece of trash like you to save me. I just smiled and told her, I hope you'll remember your own words later. Then I pointed to the area below her. Only then did Fong Qing realize that zombies had surrounded her. As the zombies began to bite, Fong Qing lost her arrogant attitude. Help? I was wrong. Su Chun, please, save me. Seeing this, Steel Teeth even commented that I was a real heartless bastard. But it doesn't matter, you'll be joining her soon anyway. Now let me show you the technology of our purification base. He then took out a can of black powder and smeared it on his face, even licking it with his tongue in his excitement. While smearing it, he told me that as long as you smear this powder on your body, these monsters will obediently listen to you. But I wasn't surprised at all. Smearing bone ash on yourself would indeed make them mistake you for one of their own. Hearing me say it was bone ash, Steel Teeth was stunned. Then he started vomiting and roaring, telling the zombies to tear me to pieces. At this moment, the zombies had already rushed towards me. But then I spread my arms and struck a pose. In the next second, 2 battle blades appeared in my hands. With a sonic boom, I directly swung the blades, flew into the horde of zombies, and instantly passed through them to the other side. Just as I landed stylishly, Steel Teeth turned around, saying, You little brat, you dare to play me before you die. But when he saw that I was already in front of him, Steel Teeth was dumbfounded. At this moment, Bai Tsong and Xiao Feng also arrived. Seeing me in the distance, they both thought that I was really done for this time, because in their eyes, I was completely surrounded by zombies. Steel Teeth was clearly panicking at this point, anxiously shouting for the zombies to kill me quickly. But I calmly patted the dust off my body and told him, "There's no need to shout, it's meaningless." Steel Teeth also had a bad feeling at this point. Just as he was thinking about what I meant, the zombies surrounding me had stopped moving. In the next second, they were all instantly killed by my blade's flash. Seeing this unbelievable scene, Steel Teeth was completely dumbfounded. He didn't understand how anyone could be so strong. But what I did next completely overturned his understanding. As I stepped forward, the entire group of people disappeared from the spot. At the same time, a voice came from behind him, which was me stepping out from a spatial gate. "I didn't originally want to have any interaction with you, Evolution Base, but why did you have to try to kill me?" As I spoke, I grabbed Steel Teeth's metal mask. As my hands gradually tightened, Steel Teeth still couldn't believe that I dared to kill him. I think that was because he didn't see the murderous intent in my eyes. Then I stopped holding back and directly yanked with force. In an instant, I pulled it out of his body along with his spine. All of this was seen by Bai Tsong in the distance. He was completely shocked, because he knew that this kind of power could not be achieved through training. But what kind of monster was this person in front of him? After finishing off Steel Teeth, I also felt that I should restrain myself a bit when dealing with these small fries. It would be good if I had a capable assistant to help me deal with these small problems. At this time, in the Green City Hotel, Duanya was shouting "no" loudly in his sleep. But then he suddenly opened his eyes and shouted a sentence. Only then did he realize that he was having a nightmare again. Awakened by the nightmare, Duanya was still complaining about why Suchun hadn't returned yet. But then a roar came from behind him. Just as Duanya hesitated whether to go see what it was, he recalled what Suchun had said before, "If you're useless, what qualifications do you have to stay by my side?" Thinking of this, Duanya also secretly made up his mind. He picked up the pistol on the table and walked towards the direction of the sound. As Duanya pushed the door open, he found that there was no one in the room. Strange, the sound was clearly coming from here. While still wondering, a roar came from behind him. And just as Duanya turned his head to look, his pupils instantly dilated. When did it appear behind me? At this time, a zombie was standing in front of Duanya, and he was already frozen in place with fright, and he didn't even know when the zombie had appeared. Just as Duanya instinctively retreated, he was blocked by the table behind him. Then he remembered that he had a gun in his hand. He was just about to raise the gun and kill the zombie, but because the space was too small, his raised hand directly hit the chair and the wall, and the gun slipped out of his hand and fell onto the table. This drop was serious, but because of the sound it made when it hit the table, the zombie instantly pounced over. In the next second, the zombie bit at the chair. Seeing this, Duanya wondered what this guy was doing. At this time, he actually started sniffing around him with his nose. Only when Duanya saw his face did he realize that he had no eyes, so he couldn't see. Although he escaped the disaster, the zombie was now very close to Duanya. As long as he made a sound, he would be attacked. At this time, getting the gun was his only chance. And just as Duanya climbed onto the table to get it, although he was very careful, he still made a creaking sound. Knowing that this was bad, he quickly turned his head to look, but as expected, the zombie directly roared and pounced over. At this moment, Duanya's mind recalled what Suchun had said before, "My resources are limited. I can't just take you in because you're pretty. You can get abilities by finding the golden box in the monster's brain. I won't have useless people around me." The extremely proud him then loudly told himself, "I'm not a waste." In the next second, he kicked his high heel into the zombie's eye. This 10-centimeter high heel directly pierced through the zombie's head. And just as the zombie was staggering backward, it directly grabbed Duanya's leg. At this time, Duanya, who was already full of fighting spirit, didn't panic. He directly gave the zombie's eye another kick, which finally made the zombie slowly fall. Seeing that the zombie had fallen to the ground, Duanya also sat up from the table. He directly found a fire axe, stepped on the zombie's head, and planned to directly chop down. "Let me see if there's a golden box in your brain." At this time, in the snow outside the city, Bai Tsong and Lu Xiaofeng followed Su Qin's advice and began to organize the students to evacuate. Bai Tsong also specifically contacted his older brother Bai Ming, asking him to lead his troops to come and meet them to protect the students' safety. And the cyber police snake, whom Su Qin was focusing on, also began to mutate. Looking at the cyber police snake in front of me, I was looking forward to seeing the extent of his mutation. To this end, I specially prepared a large bucket of water for him. Watching him directly reach for the bucket, I thought to myself that this guy actually knew that he could only complete the mutation by entering the water. This saved me the trouble of doing it myself. The moment the cyber police snake touched the water, he directly transformed from the head into a monster similar to a dragon. Then he rolled wildly in the bucket, and the huge force directly shattered the bucket. Looking at the behemoth in front of me, I was surprised that he could grow so big with just the initial mutation. Fortunately, I only gave him one bucket of water. It would be even more difficult to deal with if the flood came. But if you choose to submit to me now, I can consider taking you in as a storage. As soon as the words fell, a battle blade appeared in his hand. And this guy seemed to have intelligence, and directly darted towards the window. In the next second, he smashed the glass and rushed out. I tightly took a breath, raised the battle blade with both hands, and leaped into the air. Is this the snake's unpredictable movement? This speed won't do. Then he gripped the battle blade and stabbed him fiercely. But what I didn't expect was that the battle blade directly broke. Looking at the broken blade, I thought to myself that this scale was actually so hard. At this time, the cyber police snake felt like he was going to die and bit at me. I clenched my fists. Since the blade was useless, I would use my fist to smash you to death. Then I punched out and directly smashed the snake's head. The violent impact made him crash heavily to the ground. But then he wrapped his body around me like a tree ring. In the next second, he instantly tightened. This guy was really cunning. It seemed that his previous attack was just a feint. This was your real purpose. After locking me up, he opened his big mouth and wanted to swallow me. At this time, the survivors who were evacuating, Bai Tsong walked while looking back. Seeing his state, Bai Ming teased him and said, "What's wrong? Can't bear to part with that handsome young man named Suchin? No one will treat you like a mute if you don't speak." This also made Bai Ming certain that Bai Tsong was really moved. But what he didn't understand was that Suchin would be dead for sure if he stayed here. But Bai Tsong firmly believed that Suchin would not die, because he felt that Suchin was very strong when he first saw him. And Suchin's deep eyes were mysterious and unfathomable, as if he was a monster. Bai Tsong believed that he and Suchin would definitely meet again. On my side, I directly reached out and grabbed the cyber police snake. In the next second, I locked his neck. You don't think you can trap me like this, do you? I heard that snakes have very developed nerves. Even if their heads are cut off, they can still bite. But if that's the case... As my voice fell, I grabbed with force with my right hand. The severe pain directly made him struggle. Then I grabbed his upper jaw with one hand and stepped on his lower jaw with one foot. I directly tore with force at both ends. The entire snake head was torn in half by me from the middle. After finishing off the cyber police snake, I was still searching for the golden river in his head. Looking at the purple golden river in my hand, I was looking forward to what kind of alien demon you would bring me. If extreme heat destroyed people's will, then the flood that swept the world completely destroyed human lives. Even inland cities like Xanadu could not avoid the flood's harm. And Suchin, who had absorbed the Mingxi Golden River, had now thrown himself into the flood. Sure enough, absorbing the Mingxi Golden River could obtain a new alien demon. The body changed again. After encountering water, not only did small snake scales grow on the body, but the strength also got a qualitative improvement, and the eyes were also more sensitive to light. It was as if a protective film had grown in front of the eyes. I was not breathing through my mouth and nose, but I did not feel any suffocation, as if I was breathing through my skin. This was the characteristic of the Mingxi. Feeling the changes in my body, I thought that although it was not a water control alien demon, being able to breathe in water was also good. Surfacing, I was still thinking that the flood was rushing from the Green City Hotel. It was not impossible to swim upstream and go back, but the water flow was too fierce, which made the debris in the water like hidden weapons. Looking at the distant sky, I knew that this volcanic eruption had reached its limit. Because Xanadu was too far away from the volcano, the sky still looked clear. When a massive amount of volcanic ash flew into the air, the cover the sky and cover the moon cold winter apocalypse was not far away. In front of these doomsdays, human civilization was just a joke. If you didn't want to become fish meat, you could only improve your strength. In the previous life, several powerful forces appeared in Xanadu after the Great Flood. The waters formed by the low-lying areas in the north of the city were occupied by the Ming Snake and Ms. Wang's Water Ghost Army. The cannibal tribes of the Tao tribe gathered in the south of the city. The west of the city was controlled by the Rat Army under the Rat King. The east of the city was occupied by Gao Chong, the smelter of the Green City Hotel. In the previous life, I almost died in their hands several times. But in this life, Gao Chang and Ming Snake had been solved by me in advance. Next, if I wanted to remain strong, the best way was to get the remaining golden shells. However, the Tao clan is numerous and divided into many factions. The Lady King's whereabouts are also mysterious, making her even more impossible to find now. Furthermore, a rat plague broke out at the University of Science and Technology in the previous life. The Rat King should be there. If I can find him ahead of time, I can obtain his golden shell with minimal cost. But at this moment, I realize I seem to be too relaxed because the seawater around me is already filled with zombies. On a buoy, 2 people are struggling to climb upwards, cursing, "Damn it. How did this sudden flood break out?" Then the bald man notices someone swimming towards them in the water, while the other thinks he's just overreacting. He reasons that anyone in the water at this time would be dead. But when he turns to look, he immediately recognizes Suchin in the water. He can't believe this kid hasn't drowned yet. Seeing me, he complains that if the base hadn't sent them to keep an eye on me, they wouldn't have encountered this flood. He thinks to himself that he'll kick me hard into the water as soon as I get close. But the bald man tells him that the kid is swimming fast and seems to have something following him. As I get closer, they finally see that a horde of zombies is behind me. They're even more shocked that I'm swimming so fast against the current. Just as I'm about to reach them, the 2 frantically shout, "Suchin, we're from the purification base. We're warning you. Don't come over here." Hearing that they're from the purification base, which is perfect for finding out some information, I leap directly out of the water in the next second. This action stuns the bald man, who stares at me with wide eyes. He didn't expect that I would step on his face, sending him falling off the buoy. But at that critical moment, the other man grabs him, shouting, "I've got you. Hold on to the buoy." But the bald man can't reach the buoy from his current position. His brother is already using all his strength, comforting the bald man. "Don't be afraid, fatty. I'll definitely pull you up." Knowing there's no hope, the bald man tells him to let go, or they'll both die. Meanwhile, I'm standing on the railing, telling them to tell me everything they know about the purification base. But this guy is stubborn and doesn't say anything. Seeing that he's quite resilient, I say, "Very well, then don't blame me." At that moment, the water ghouls surge up and grab the bald man's leg. The already exhausted man is pulled into the water. Watching everything that happened below, I nonchalantly say that he fell into the water himself, and it's not my fault. But the other man's actions are something I didn't expect. He shouts, "Brother, I'm coming to save you," and jumps directly into the water. Whether he's brave or ignorant, the zombies instantly surround them both, roaring and trying to bite them. At this point, he's resigned to his death. But then, a battle blade slashes at the zombie in front of him. Next, several arrows appear on the surface of the water, instantly killing all the zombies. Seeing this scene, both men exclaim, "Is this guy even human? He's too strong." After being saved by me, the 2 also feel they owe me a favor. Then they tell me all the information they know. They were sent by the purification base to monitor us. The purification base is located in the University of Science and Technology, with the laboratory researchers led by Lu Laoda as the core. They just do whatever they're told. Thinking about how the rat plague in the previous life also broke out at the University of Science and Technology, it seems that the rat plague is related to this purification base. With that thought in mind, I ask them if the laboratory is researching mutant rats. But they tell me that only researchers can enter the lab, and they really don't know anything about that. After understanding this information, I know that I must scout out the situation there ahead of time and act before the rat plague breaks out. At this time, Duanya, who is still at the Green City Hotel, also luckily harvested a golden shell from a zombie's brain. Just as he absorbs the energy of the golden shell, his whole person is shocked by this power. Sitting at the table, he still can't believe he actually succeeded. But at this moment, he finds that the water has already flooded this floor. But he hasn't noticed the tentacles spreading in the water. When he starts to notice them, the tentacles have already wrapped around him quickly. In the next second, he is completely tied up and unable to move. Then the tip of the tentacle stretches toward his face. After seeing it clearly, he realizes that the tentacle is covered in sharp teeth. Before he can react, this thing lunges toward Duanya. In the critical moment, he drags out his hands and grabs the tentacle, but this thing seems to have intelligence and directly wraps around his hands. In an instant, Duanya's whole body is wrapped up and he is completely unable to move. At this time, he sees that there are countless tentacles waiting for him in the water. Unfortunately, Duanya has just obtained his power and hasn't had time to adapt to it, so he can't counterattack at all. At this time, he suddenly remembers what Suchin said to him before. As long as you find the golden shell and spin, you can obtain power, but many monsters look ordinary. You can't tell from the appearance what power the golden shell has. At that time, Duanya also asked, if you don't even know what power you have obtained, then how do you use it? Suchin then told him to feel it, feel your body, feel the surrounding environment, feel all the changes, and then try to master control. As the thought flashes through his mind, Duanya feels his power, and the world in his eyes presents another kind of scene. Is this you little nuisances? In the next second, Duanya shouts loudly, all of you stop. Just as his voice falls, all the tentacles freeze and don't move. As Duanya's power is brought into play, it also allows him to break free from the shackles of the tentacles. After being rescued, he says in his mouth, so annoying, making me all sticky. Then Duanya grabs the fire axe. At this moment, he looks at the tentacles in the water and directly swings the axe to chop them all off like cutting leeks. This also causes blood to splatter all over the room. When Duanya finishes dealing with these and prepares to go back to take a shower, a figure appears behind him and says in his mouth, can I wash with you? Hearing the sound, Duanya turns around instantly and grips the axe, asking who it is. As I walk out of the darkness, I praise him. Not bad. You know how to protect yourself with a weapon now. Seeing that it is me, Duanya first widens his eyes, then pounces on me and exclaims, that's great. You finally came back. I was so worried about you. But in the next second, he realizes that something is poking him and looks down to see that I'm not wearing any clothes. I also explain that the water is too dirty, so I simply took off all my clothes. Let's go take a shower quickly. At this moment, in the presidential suite bathroom, I'm comfortably lying in the bathtub. It's only when you go out that you realize that home is the best. And the Duanya on the opposite side seems to have experienced a great battle, his face slightly red and looking very tired. Just as he gets up to massage my shoulders, I also ask him if he has awakened to power. He thinks that I saw him kill the tentacles just now, but I say that I didn't see the scene just now. I felt it through the temperature of your mouth. This sentence also makes Duanya's face red, and he shyly says, what temperature can there be in my mouth? Then I ask him what his power is, but Duanya is not sure, but he can feel that it should be a mental control type of power. Then I ask him if this mental control skill can be used on food. However, Duanya is also not clear about this, but he is now thinking about practicing on me first. Just as I ask him how he wants to practice, my pupils suddenly turn into the shape of red circles. In the next second, the Duanya in my eyes turns into another scene, making me a little unable to extricate myself. Duanya exclaims, is this Suchin's spiritual power? If it weren't for Suchin's permission, I might have collapsed myself the moment I tried to influence him. After feeling Duanya's power, I smile slightly. So that's how it is, a really good power. Then next, I want you to practice making your legs weak. Only one room in the entire Green City Hotel is lit, and there are occasional wines. The next day, with a few gunshots, a few tentacle monsters were directly killed. Holding Duanya's hand, I tell him to concentrate his mind and control it with your mind before shooting. What makes Duanya puzzled is that I'm not going to the University of Science and Technology. Why do I still have time to teach him how to shoot? The reason I give you half a day to familiarize yourself with your abilities and marksmanship is because you said earlier that it is a university. Next, I want you to go with me. It's time to show your role. Due to the outbreak of the flood, the entire city is submerged in the water. At this time, a speedboat is slowly moving forward on the water. On the boat, Duanya still feels that his clothes are not appropriate, but Suchin tells him not to worry because with him here, no one can do anything to Duanya. Duanya asks Suchin while driving if he has been to the University of Science and Technology before, and Suchin replies that he has indeed met a brother, but he doesn't know if he survived. Seeing that Suchin's face is a little worried, Duanya comforts him to rest assured. So-called good people have their own destiny, and soon the speedboat slowly stops because they have reached their destination. This high wall is the University of Science and Technology, and at this time, Suchin's eyes suddenly turn red, and he turns his head to look over. Someone on the wall is holding a machine gun and sweeping at them. Seeing the crash, Suchin hurriedly protects Duanya. After all, he is not bulletproof. After a wave of fire, the guards above also launched an inquiry. Who are you? What are you doing here? Looking at the University of Science and Technology, Suchin thinks this is the place where the mutant rat king rose in the previous life, and then answers, We are here to join the purification base. Can you open the door and let us in? As the boat gets closer and closer, the guards also see the two of them clearly. Oh, there's even a bunny queen. Little girl, keep me company tonight and I'll let you in. As for that guy, where did he come from? Go wherever he should go. And at this time, he finds that Duanya is holding a plate of braised pork. Big brother, for the sake of this braised pork, please help us open the door. And at this time, the guards can't believe their eyes. It's really braised pork. In the next second, he tells LV Tao to open the door quickly. I haven't seen meat for so long. Then the wooden door slowly opens, and Su Chin's boat also drives in. At this time, the guard is still shouting to quickly park the boat on the side, and then give me the braised pork, but he doesn't know that this is Duanya's power, and he doesn't know that the braised pork in his eyes is actually a zombie's severed tongue. Then LV Tao also leads Su Chin and them into the base. While walking and introducing the situation here, the bottom floor is for the elderly, children, and those lowly people to live in. Just as he was planning to take Su Chin and them upstairs to find a clean room, he suddenly bumped into a child. Kid, what's wrong with you? Can you walk? And Duanya looks at the little girl and knows that she is weak from hunger, and her parents have gone out to find food and have not returned yet. Duanya then takes out a piece of bread and hands it to the little girl. Sister has a piece of bread for you to eat, okay? But the little girl says, Bunny sister, if you give me the bread, what will you do if you are hungry? And Su Chin tells the little girl to rest assured, the bunny sister can't be hungry. Hearing Su Chin's words, the little girl also thinks that Su Chin is lying to her, because in her cognition, no one is not hungry now. But in the next second, Su Chin takes out a hot pot mutton roll. You can question my character, but you can't question my strength. It's impossible for my woman to be hungry. Seeing that it's a hot pot, the little girl is dumbfounded, and even shouts, I also want to be brother's woman. Duanya's face changes instantly, then he stuffs the bread into the girl's mouth. Children, don't talk nonsense, eat quickly. Just then a voice came, bastards, there are people cooking things to eat here. A bunch of lowly people don't know that privately hiding food is a violation of the rules. All materials must be handed in first and then exchanged with contribution points. But I don't remember anyone exchanging food these days. Who is breaking the rules? Hearing that he will be punished, the little girl is frightened and cries. Seeing the little girl aggrieved, Duanya also stands up. Seeing Su Chin nod in permission, he begins to display his talent. Don't you just want food? These things are prepared for you. Enjoy it. As soon as he finishes speaking, Duanya's eyes instantly turn red, and at the same time, a table of delicacies appears in front of the three people. Seeing the meat, the people also start to snatch it up frantically. It's so delicious. I'm going to cry at this familiar feeling. Then the leader praises the little girl for being sensible. Brother will reward you tonight. But that new guy, you have violated the rules and must be punished. Then he tells his subordinates to bring the person over, and then two people are brought over with iron chains tied to them. The punishment is to have a life and death duel with these two people, either kill them or be killed by them. Looking at the two people being chained up, Su Chin thinks that they are not the two brothers in the flood, and the little girl on the side also looks over at this time. In the next second, she shouts loudly, Big brother, second brother. Seeing this scene, Duanya has no reaction. What did you say? They are your brother. The little girl cries and struggles to rush over. You bad guys, let go of my brother. At this time, Duanya holds her tightly because she can see that the state of those two people is not right. The younger brother who is still eating meat on the side then explains, they messed up the mission and couldn't come up with contribution points to compensate, and they have been sentenced to death, but it's too wasteful to kill them directly. So they are kept to make the brothers happy. I didn't expect you to know each other. It's even more interesting now. I decided that if you lose the duel, I will let this little sister and her brothers be thrown into the water to feed the watermelons. Just moments ago, everyone from the Science and Technology University surrounded me in Duanya. Looking at the two brothers chained up, I figured they must have been injected with some kind of drug. As I was thinking, that boss Lu directly yelled, Get him. And the next second, his men simultaneously released the chains. Without the restraints, the two brothers charged straight at me. I raised my right hand, delivering a swift chop to the younger brother, knocking him unconscious, and then gave his older brother a powerful headbutt. In just a second, both of them were down. Seeing her brothers fall, the little girl started crying, wanting to run over, but Duanya stopped her, reassuring her that her brothers would be all right. Looking at the brothers lying on the ground, Boss Lu complained, Damn it, What a waste of my 2 doses. Useless trash. He then said that if I handed over all my supplies, he'd let it slide as if it never happened. Clearly, Duanya's mind control had made him crave meat. I coldly looked at them. Why would I give you my supplies? One of the lackeys shouted at me, "You're new here, aren't you?" Everyone who enters the Science and Technology University has to follow Boss Lu's rules. If you want to stay here, you need to earn contribution points, and you can exchange supplies for contribution points. Listening to them, I realized that these contribution points were basically like money. This rule obviously benefited whoever made it. I replied that I could, but they had already eaten all our remaining food, so we had nothing left to give. The next second, a massive figure appeared behind them. "If you want contribution points, how about you work for me?" The 2 lackeys instantly exclaimed in surprise, "It's Captain Bo." This huge figure made Duanya's eyes widen too. We saw several people carrying a throne made of wood, and sitting on it was a huge, fat man weighing around 800 pounds. Beside him was a scantily clad woman who looked like she was in a lot of pain. Just then, one of the people carrying the throne stumbled, falling to the ground. This caused the throne to shake slightly. The fat man grabbed a wooden spear and threw it directly at the fallen man. Unsurprisingly, the wooden spear instantly pierced through his body. Faced with this brutal scene, Duanya and I were both shocked, but the fat man acted as if nothing had happened, looking at us with amusement. "You see, I'm really short on people. You're here at the right time to replace him, especially with that bunny girl over there. I'll give you a can of luncheon meat every day, and you can eat as much instant noodles as you want. You know, those are rare commodities these days." He then grabbed the woman next to him. "It's just that I'm tired of these types." Listening to Captain Gua's words, Boss Lu tried to put on a brave face. "Our captain is extending a sincere invitation. I advise you not to be ungrateful." The lackeys even cheered excitedly, saying, "Great, if the captain gets a new woman, we'll get to enjoy the old one." But as they were talking, Captain Gua interrupted them. "What's that smell? What did you eat?" Hearing Captain Gua's question, they thought, "Oh no. We saw the meat and forgot to hide it from the captain. Eating meat in secret is a death sentence." The next second, they knelt on the ground. "Sorry, Captain. We'll never do it again. We'll give you any food we find in the future." But what they didn't expect was that Captain Gua told them to shut up immediately, because their mouths reeked like they had eaten shit. Captain Gua's reaction shocked me too, because it meant that Duanya's mental control had no effect on him. But Lu and the others didn't understand. They clearly ate meat just now. But then, they started showing painful expressions, shouting that their stomachs hurt and spitting out black blood. Confused, they clutched their stomachs and ran off to find a toilet. Captain Gua, watching them run away, said, "How could I have such subordinates? One day, I'm going to kill all these idiots." I kept observing Captain Gua. "It's strange. I can't sense any special abilities from this guy, but he gives off a feeling of great strength, and under his influence, the others actually woke up from Duanya's mental control. I don't know what kind of person that Lu is, but judging by his men, he's probably not easy to deal with either. Taking them out now will cause problems for my mission. I should focus on finding the mutated rats first." As I was thinking, Captain Gua asked me again, "Kid, what do you think of my offer?" I directly told him I wasn't interested. Seeing how firm I was, Captain Gua laughed. "Don't worry, one day you'll be begging me." Then he called Lu Tao to replace the previous position and prepared to leave. Watching them gradually walk away, Duanya apologized, saying that his mental strength was too strong and my ability couldn't affect him. I comforted Duanya, saying that it wasn't his fault, and that these guys who had eaten water ghost corpses and not died must be weird. We need to be careful from now on. Just then, a voice came from behind us. "You've offended the Qingwei team. They won't let you go. Su-Chen, you must leave with me immediately." Looking at the beggar-like man in front of me, I asked, "Do you know me? Why are you helping us?" The man, seeing that I didn't remember him, explained, "It's me, Meowpoo. I was Tian Yu's roommate. You came to the school last time. We met before." Inside a building, Captain Gua instructed Lu Tao to keep a close eye on the girl and not let them escape. Lu Tao quickly agreed, but he didn't know why the captain wanted to do this. Captain Gua licked his lips, thinking about Duanya's appearance. He realized that you wouldn't find a girl this beautiful in the apocalypse. The scene shifts to a dilapidated building at Science and Technology University. Makeshift shelves held 4 drips. "Your medicine reserves are small but will suffice," I noted, looking at the 2 brothers Su-Chen saved. Duanya added that their lives were no longer in danger. Hearing this, the little girl happily praises Bunny Sister Duanya. I looked around and asked Meowpoo if all of the students were living here, to which he responded, yes, male and female, all survivors were seeking refuge here. Thanks to Tianyu's frequent assistance, this area also counts as the territory of our extramural affiliates. As I pondered what the extramural affiliates did, a man arrived and said, our extramural affiliates are strong. We could even contend with the zombies. He appeared to be an armed guard and asked if I wanted to join their ranks. Meowpoo recognized the man with excitement, exclaiming, Brother Tianyu, look who I brought back. Seeing me, Tianyu exclaimed, holy crap. Sue, is that really you? Coming up to me, he gave me a hug. I thought you were gone. I can't believe that you're back. Following his excitement, he was distracted by something else, Duanya. Tianyu's response was even more significant than seeing me. This is the Science and Technology University's cold-faced goddess Duanya. He exclaimed in awe and exclaimed, how did the legendary goddess end up here? And wearing a bunny outfit. Seeing their reaction, Duanya was embarrassed and hid beside me, saying, Suchin, I want to change. It's embarrassing to meet my juniors like this. The two looked at me with envy as they said, how awful. Tianyu brought us to his residence and looked for a room where Duanya could change. As Tianyu wondered where we had gotten the clothes from, I changed the subject. What kind of tasks do you guys usually take? Upon hearing my question, Tianyu sighed and exclaimed that it was dangerous everywhere. You were lucky. You look clean, as if you've never experienced hardships. Join the affiliates and stay here. I can protect you. Duanya is an excellent medic and would not need to leave for food. He then gave a serious warning, don't show off and make your girlfriend wear a bunny outfit in the apocalypse. He then became serious and told me to take care of her. I quickly responded, I will. But he didn't think I was serious and flicked my head. You need to be serious. I saved you from bullies in high school. Duanya heard the conversation while changing. Also, there was a vice captain that would not give up on women as pretty as Duanya. Duanya frowned while hearing this, but did not notice that she was being watched. Suddenly, a knife was held to her neck, and the intruder said, the vice captain would like to arrange accommodations for you. Since you're female, you can't sleep with the boys. Duanya refused their help, stating that there was enough room, but the woman grabbed her and attempted to take her away. At that moment, Duanya's eyes glowed red, and she said, I told you I don't need it. The woman became unresponsive and released Duanya, staring blankly. Duanya knew she could control the woman for only a brief moment and went outside to look for Suchin, but the woman stabbed herself in the hand to overcome Duanya's control and attacked Duanya. She pinned her on the door and said, I almost fell for that. You're a strange girl. The sound was loud enough to alert Suchin, who yelled, What's going on? Why are you so loud? No one responded. Did something happen? The door was kicked open and someone stood in the doorway. Seeing her, the woman exclaimed, Dead, and ran toward him, but Tianyu intercepted her. Suchin, watch out. Hearing the name, the woman's eyes expanded, and she realized the person was a devil from Engineering University, named Suchin. Even though she had killed many, she knew that attacking him would mean certain death. She quickly kneeled and exclaimed, Master, please punish me. Tianyu was confused. Suchin, when did you get into this? At that moment, the woman threw a smoke bomb and attempted to escape, but a hand grabbed her, and I said, Did you think it would be that easy to escape? The woman exclaimed, Wait, don't kill me. Remember that girl you saved? She and her brothers were taken to the Colosseum. Before she could finish, I cut her off. So what? Then, I threw her out of the building, and she fell into the ocean. Tianyu asked who that girl was. Meowpoo said it was Xiaomei and her brothers, and that they were likely taken away by the Green Guard while we were gone. What do we do now? I suggested going to check it out. Tianyu told me to be cautious. At a building, the vice captain said, Your brothers failed their mission and deserve death. But if you are willing to enter the Colosseum, I'll consider giving them a chance. The two brothers yelled at Xiaomei to run away and not believe him. Xiaomei exclaimed, I'm not leaving. But will you truly let them go? The captain nodded. As the captain raised his hand, a large mutated rat was let loose behind Xiaomei. Xiaomei fearfully gripped a wooden stick. Just as she turned around, the rat bit her arm, and she cried out. Memories flooded her mind. Her brother found mushrooms, but her other brother refused to let her eat them in case they were poisonous. Instead, he took two and ate them, only to find out they were poisonous. Then, the two set off to earn enough contribution points, telling Xiaomei to wait for them to return and eat good food. She remembered them telling her to be a good girl and not run off. In the Colosseum, Xiaomei was bitten by the rat, and the two brothers were panicked. Xiaomei, run. Forget about us. You need to live. The captain ordered his men to shut them up, and they were suffocated. With her brothers on the verge of death, Xiaomei became even more desperate. She grabbed the stick and impaled the rat in its eyes. The rat wailed and Xiaomei struggled to get free. Without thinking, she rushed towards her brothers to save them. Xiaomei was in tears and didn't want to be alone in the apocalypse. She was focused on saving her brothers and didn't notice the rat behind her, who pounced and knocked her down. Seeing the end, the captain laughed. A child trying to save someone is just delusional. Just as the rat was about to devour Xiaomei, the two brothers complained about the unfairness of the world. We just wanted to live. On the ground, Xiaomei cried out weakly for help. At that moment, the rat's head was swatted away by my palm, leaving a bloody mess. Tianyu said I was too impulsive. Seeing this scene, Xiaomei can't believe her eyes. They heard Tianyu's urgent voice as he said, "The kid is too impulsive." At this moment, the team leader on the stage looked at me in horror. "Is that all you've got? It seems this rat is just big, but doesn't have a hardened shell. It feels a bit different from ordinary mutated creatures." But the team leader was already looking at me with a sinister grin. "Bastard, since you're courting death, I'll grant it to you." Then another iron gate was slowly opened, and behind it, it felt like countless eyes were staring at me. Here it comes. The boss of the evolution base is finally making his appearance, and he wants to use Suchin as an experimental subject right away. Just now, seeing the two brothers being rescued, Xiaomei finally felt relieved. "Thanks to you, Xiaomei. You saved us." Hearing her brother's words, Xiaomei said, "It was Brother Suchin who saved us." At this moment, in another scene, a pair of wet feet walked in. Standing in front of the woman who had barely survived was a long-haired man drinking coffee. "Is the man below the special research material you mentioned?" Listening to the long-haired man's question, the woman became noticeably more docile. "Yes, boss. Using his genes will definitely solve the problem of unstable end-of-the-world genes." But the boss was skeptical of the woman's words, because the rats in front of Suchin used the latest technology, making them bigger and more ferocious than before. "If this guy named Suchin dies here, then he's not worthy of being my special experimental material." But before he could finish speaking, these mutated giant rats were instantly killed by Suchin as easily as chopping vegetables. Even Tianyu exclaimed, "Is this still the Suchin I know?" Of course, it wasn't just the two of them who were shocked, but also that Captain Gua. Looking at the corpses of the mutated giant rats, I noticed that they didn't have hardened shells either. The next second, the loudspeaker above suddenly let out a cough, and then the long-haired man's voice came from it. "Attention everyone, this man is the experimental material I need. Lao Bo, Tianyu, you two bring him up to me." This sudden turn of events startled Tianyu, who exclaimed, "This is bad." And then the loudspeaker added, "Life or death is irrelevant." At this moment, Miao Puyuan was clearly terrified and hurriedly said to Duanya, "Senior, hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, you won't be able to get away either." But Duanya looked resolute. "I won't leave. As long as Suchin is here, I won't go anywhere." And the Captain Go on the side clearly began to gloat. "Tianyu, I heard you two are brothers, but we were able to survive in this apocalypse thanks to the boss, so what will you choose?" Hearing Captain Go's words, I asked, "Brother Tian, what's going on?" "Tianyu told me, the man upstairs is called Lu Heiyun. At the beginning of the apocalypse, he developed a potion that can make people stronger, and therefore controls the school. But this potion requires overdrafting vitality to gain power. Once we can't get the potion, we will become weaker than anyone else." Looking at Tianyu's helpless expression, I said, "If I say I have a way, would you be willing to come with me?" But at this moment, he lowered his head. "I'm sorry, Suchin. I'm afraid I have no choice." Hearing Tianyu's answer, Captain Guo laughed even louder. "I didn't expect to see a good show of brothers turning against each other today. It's really interesting. Time is almost up. The boss is still waiting." As he spoke, he picked up two hammers and pinches/sandwich in between towards me, and at the same time, someone jumped up from the spot. "But I don't want to choose today." As these words were spoken, Tianyu stepped on Captain Guo's face with one foot. The huge impact directly sent him rolling more than 100 meters away. Then Tianyu took off his coat, revealing his sturdy body, looking like he was planning to go all out. And Captain Guo, who was lying on the ground, was still roaring, "You dare to betray the boss. Bullshit boss. He just wants to control me with the potion. I have a worthless life. I'll die if I die, but whoever dares to touch my brother, I'll fight him to the death." At this moment, Tianyu looked exactly the same as he did in school. As soon as he finished speaking, Tianyu rushed towards Captain Guo. At this moment, Captain Guo was still spouting nonsense. Since you're courting death, I'll smash you all together. Just as Tianyu approached him, he assumed a battle stance. The next second, he rushed towards Fatty Guo with more than 100 punches per second. Just as Tianyu felt he had victory in his grasp, a hint of contempt suddenly appeared in Fatty Guo's eyes. The boss knew you would betray him long ago, so he gave you level 1 potion, but I'm using level 2 potion. Hearing Fatty Guo's words, Tianyu was also shocked, but this instead became Fatty Guo's opportunity to counterattack. My fat is the strongest defense. No one can hurt me. As he spoke, he raised his hammers and smashed them towards Tianyu. This huge force not only sent Tianyu flying, but also made him spit out a large mouthful of blood. As Fatty Guo exerted his strength, even the stones under Tianyu's feet were crushed. Facing this situation, Fatty Guo said unhurriedly, "Go to hell." Then, he pressed a button on the hammer with his thumb. Feeling a tingling sensation in his hand, Tianyu realized it. There was electricity on the meteor hammer. Just when Tianyu thought he was done for, a size 42.5 shoe kicked the hammer, accompanied by a voice, "I heard no one can hurt you, right?" As these words ended, I kicked the hammer directly into Fatty Guo's body. Seeing this stunning reversal, Tianyu was stunned. Liao Kuyuan and Duanyu were also dumbfounded. Even the high and mighty base boss couldn't help but frown. Here it comes. Suchen is just right to start a war with the evolution base. Just now, as the hammer was inserted into Captain Guo's eyes, a crackling current spread throughout his body, and I landed handsomely with my hands in my pockets. Everything that happened below was seen by Lu Heiyan. This kid is a bit interesting. I'm getting more and more interested in you. I spent all my resources here in search of the perfect human evolution method, and only then did I have a major breakthrough. And this kid's strength just now proves his worth. Here he is looking at me with a dumbfounded expression. The perfect humans you're talking about wouldn't be rats, would they? Hearing that I actually knew about the rats, he didn't care. That's right, rats are indeed my main research direction, and the genes of rats are the closest to humans. This guy was getting more and more excited, and even directly said his purpose. I will use the genes of rats to create a Ratman army, and then conquer the world. At that time, the end of the world will be heaven for us. How about it? Aren't you excited? Looking at his wretched appearance, I picked my ear and told him, "No, on the contrary, I think there's something wrong with your head." The next second, I pulled the trigger and fired a shot directly. As the bullet grazed my face, I saw that it was a potion, and this potion shot unerringly into Captain Guo, who was already unconscious. However, in less than 2 seconds, his body had already begun to change. Tentacles grew out of various parts of his body, and there was a violent hissing sound. Seeing Captain Guo mutating, Tianyuan and the others were stunned, and Duanyu was even more shocked. What are those guys researching? As Captain Guo gradually mutated and took shape, Lu Heiyun slowly said, "This guy used to be a sumo wrestler, and his fat was inherently resistant to damage. Coupled with the level 3 potion that he just injected, which has strengthening and recovery functions, you can't possibly be his opponent." Then he looked at me with a confident look. "Now do you know how great the power of purification is?" Seeing him babbling nonstop, I gave him a finger heart gesture. The great power is just turning people into monsters. Facing my repeated provocations, the boss of the purification base was furious, and then let his subordinates kill me, wanting to extract my genes directly from my corpse. Hearing the instruction, Captain Guo instantly let out a roar, and the next second, he transformed into a ball of meat and rushed towards me. Jianzhuang Duanya directly exclaimed, "Suchen, be careful." At this moment, facing the electric meatball rolling towards me quickly, I only said, "Stop." And the meatball couldn't move forward any further after my hands pressed on it. You think you can electrocute people by putting 2 batteries in a weapon? As soon as the words fell, I crushed the hammer and took out the batteries inside. Then let you taste the taste of batteries too. Then I directly inserted the batteries into Fatty Guo's fat. He, who had completely turned into a monster, didn't care what it was and directly swallowed it forcefully. Unsurprisingly, the batteries exploded instantly under the huge pressure. Looking at the reverse situation on the field, Tianyu and Duanya opened their mouths wide. He's killed just like that? Even Lu Heiyan, who was watching the battle above, left a trace of cold sweat. He actually used the explosion of batteries to cause damage. But I also said that the level 3 potion has a very strong recovery ability. At this moment, the Guo captain was recovering his body at a speed visible to the naked eye. 2 minutes later, a monster that couldn't be recognized at all stood in the field. At this time, Lu Heiyun in the building was still clamoring, "You can't do anything in the face of the power of purification." But what everyone didn't expect was that I rushed towards the monster the next second and punched him in his disgusting huge mouth. That huge force directly smashed the ground into a sky full of dust. I could have directly used my abilities to kill him, but there are very few people who know about abilities now, so it's safer not to let people see it. At this time, Duanya and others on the periphery were blocked by the rising dust and couldn't see anything. Lu Heiyun Jian Zhuang was also wondering what the person was trying to do. Seeing that this guy was constantly recovering his body, Lu Heiyun's research still had something. But my space doesn't only collect supplies. Then I activated the space ability, and instantly countless steel and concrete blocks appeared in midair. Let you try my secret weapon. As the ability was released, all the things smashed towards Captain Gua. The huge impact even made the enemies outside tremble in fear. Of course, Lu Heiyun also heard all of this. 2.5 minutes later, as the dust gradually dissipated, everyone saw me sitting on a stone. After seeing clearly, Tianyu and the others were shocked. What is this? It's actually a small mountain made of various cement steel materials. Could that guy have been buried underneath? At this time, Lu Heiyun could no longer maintain his composure. The next second, he roared like crazy, "I don't care who you are, and I don't care where you got a pile of garbage, daring to provoke me like this. I will definitely let you die without a burial place. Look around you, you are dead." I smiled slightly at the countless pairs of red eyes behind the iron fence. That's right, I don't plan to let any of them go. Just now, everyone looked around and knew that they had been surrounded. It turned out that those countless pairs of red eyes were people who had been to the laboratory before. I couldn't believe that they had all mutated into rat people. At this time, I knew that my goal was Lu Heiyun above. If I didn't solve him, things would never end. Then I looked at Duanya and Jiaren, so I'll leave this place to you. Hearing my arrangement, Duanya was a little scared, but the words I said came to her mind. If you have no value, you are not qualified to stay by my side. Then she looked at me with a firm expression. Don't worry, I will control them all. Hearing this answer, I was relieved and walked towards the laboratory center. Before leaving, I didn't forget to wave to them, telling them to shout loudly if they couldn't hold on. Seeing me leave, Duanya took a step forward and said to everyone, "Everyone listen carefully. We control these guys. You just kill them as much as you want." At this time, Lu Heiyun upstairs didn't know that I had already gone to find him and was still teasing a few traitors. Let you become the food of the rat people. And just when he was concentrating on preparing to watch a good show, a younger brother behind him suddenly reported, "Suchin killed the security personnel in the building and broke into Miss Yun's room." When Lu Heiyun was obviously a little angry. How dare he break into that kind of place? While speaking, he took off his white coat. Then he asked his subordinates to immediately push the end-of-the-world gene into the number 5 reagent. Hearing his decision, the scientific researchers panicked and were still trying to remind him that gene fusion was still unstable. Doing this now is too risky. But Lu Heiyun insisted on doing what he said because he wanted to solve Suchin himself. At this time, I was walking in a room full of experimental containers. Looking at the strange things, it was obvious that this guy had done a lot of bad things. The next second, I stopped in front of a container because I saw that the woman in the screen was Yun, whom I had met in the bar before. I never thought that I would meet again here after leaving the bar. Then I swung my fist and planned to save her first. With the sound of glass breaking, I had already returned to the original place holding Yun. At this time, the weak Yun slowly opened her eyes. "Are you Suchin?" "It's me. Don't worry, I will save you." But Yun only said that she was hungry and fell asleep again. But just when I was thinking about how to get her something to eat, a voice suddenly came, "Let go of that girl." But what followed was a blue ice arrow shot towards me. Just when the arrow was 0.01 millimeters away from me, I caught it. Seeing that an arrow didn't kill me, Lu Heiyun instantly became furious. "Take your dirty hands away. She is the woman I chose." I crushed the ice arrow with one hand and sighed. It's actually an ice-type ability. Saying what you chose as a woman, do you think you were in a shopping mall picking out goods? But Lu Heiyun behaved as if it was a matter of course, ignoring that ordinary people were just ants. People like me who have mastered the power of evolution will be the masters in the future. It's her honor to be my woman. Witnessing my confident look. Sure enough, the rumor is true, she is just a big harpy. At this time, Yun was obviously a little awake. The next second, she hugged me tightly and shouted, "Don't go. I'm so scared." This scene directly made Lu Heiyun grind his back teeth and then rush towards me after letting go. I said, "That's my woman." On the other hand, I kicked her away with a sound of whoosh. And just when Lu Heiyun had just stood firm, his pupils suddenly constricted and his brain went blank. Lu Heiyun saw that I and Yun Yun had already stabilized together. As she parted her lips in satisfaction, she looked at me affectionately and said, "Who told you to leave me in the hotel last time? This kiss is what you owe me." And when she used all her strength to do these things, she fell asleep again. This wave after wave of showing affection had already made Lu Heiyun completely devastated. "How dare you do this? Since that's the case, then you can all go to die together." With her roar, her top was directly shattered by her, and then her face began to distort and grow fangs. Her muscles were gradually collapsing, and one rib after another could be counted. That palm also became a force field. As she successfully transformed, Lu Heiyun had already become a humanoid rat. "Now let you see the power of God." At this moment, I was holding Yun Yun. Lu Heiyun's changes obviously brought me no surprise. I then said to her plainly, "Come on, Jerry." Looking at Yun Yun, who hadn't eaten in 2.5 months, I immediately pulled out a chocolate bar from my crotch and gave it to her to eat first. As for the little punk on the other side, I didn't even bother looking at him. At this time, the final mutated base boss had already started to furiously rush towards me. "Kid, you dare to get distracted flirting with a girl while fighting me? You're dead." In the next moment, with just a single karate chop, I blasted the base boss into smithereens. I was a little overpowered at this point. That was it. Yun Yun, who had eaten half full, saw my friends downstairs struggling a bit and said she wanted to go down and support them. After all, she couldn't just eat Su Chen's food for free. Saying this, she swung her chair and smashed the glass window in front of her. "By the way, the base boss isn't that easy to kill. You have to be careful." She then jumped down from the 20th floor. The moment Yun Yun landed, her body rapidly grew larger. Quickly, Yun Yun transformed into a 10-meter-tall giantess. But unexpectedly, she couldn't stop in time and landed directly on her butt. Duanya and the others were startled by the sudden earthquake. They didn't understand why a giantess had fallen from the sky. Yun Yun then introduced herself as Su Chen's friend and said she was there to help them. But at this moment, Tian Yu's gaze was completely oblivious to her words, entirely fixated on Yun Yun's ample white bosom. Noticing this, Yun Yun repeatedly shouted "pervert." But before they could finish their banter, the surrounding army of rats had already surrounded them. At this moment, Yun Yun made her grand entrance. "You guys stay back. Leave this to me." "Oh no, don't step over my head. It'll bring bad luck." Next, Yun Yun's pair of jade-like feet stomped the rats into mush. Suddenly, Yun Yun felt something wasn't right. What exactly were these small creatures? Holy crap, rats? How come they're all rats? Whoa, help. So many rats. So disgusting. Go away. Damn, big sis, stop kicking randomly. Run. This girl's gone crazy. I told you stepping over my head would bring bad luck. Looking down at the giant Yun Yun below, I couldn't help but marvel at the powerful ability she possessed. However, at this moment, the rooftop where I was standing was also crawling with rats. As a large number of rats crawled towards me, I said, "You really aren't that easy to kill." In no time, the rats had completely enveloped me and started to merge together. As the rats gnawed away, I was instantly devoured. Finally, a giant paw emerged from the swarm of rats. A massive, muscular giant rat stood atop the pile of rats. "Ha ha ha ha, this is truly an immortal body. Su Chen, you little punk, you still want to fight me? Look, now you're dead without even a corpse left." Just then, the movements of the tens of thousands of giant rats downstairs suddenly stopped. This scene left everyone stunned. Why did these rats suddenly stop moving? Then, the entire rat army raised their heads and looked upwards, towards the roof where the base boss, the Rat King, was standing. The Rat King smiled sinisterly, believing that his ambition to rule the world was finally about to be realized. Duanya and the others were so shocked that their diapers were soaked. Why was the Rat King standing there alone? Where was Su Chen? Could he have been killed? Immediately afterwards, the millions of giant rats in front knelt down on one knee, acknowledging their new king. The next moment, a giant rat ripped out the iron gate. "Get out of my way, you stinking rats." Hearing that Su Chen had been killed, Yun Yun completely lost her mind and overcame her fear of rats. "Hey, you stinking rat. Where did you take Su Chen? Tell me quickly, or I'll kill you." The Rat King let out a cackling laugh and said that Su Chen would be coming out as his feces tomorrow. "As for you, little girl, You've just been released, and you can't even tell who's boss. How dare you talk to me like that? The next moment, the rat legion swarmed towards Union. Not only Union, but the rats on Duanya's side also went berserk. Although Union the giantess was strong, she couldn't withstand the sheer number of rats and eventually fell. Ha 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 ha, dare to oppose me? With this rat army, I will. The Rat King's words were cut short. A large hand reached out from his chest. I said with a relaxed expression, sorry, rat bro. Finding the golden core took a little time. The Rat King was stunned. He had clearly devoured Suchin completely. Why are you? The next moment, red energy surged from my body as I walked out of the giant rat's body. Looking at his splitting stomach and the life rapidly draining from him, the Rat King felt fear for the first time. Now this golden core is mine. You shouldn't be able to revive now, right? Suchin's abilities received another major upgrade. Not only did he successfully devour the Rat King's golden core, but he also gained the will to command the rats and broke through his stagnant mental power to the bone level. Just moments before, countless rat soldiers had surged from all directions. They were visible through iron fences and sewers, even constantly emerging from cracks in the ground. Tianyu urgently warned the others, everyone, be careful. These rats can squeeze through any crack. Watch your feet near the drainage areas. Everyone was stunned by the rats emerging from below. Then, a claw reached out from the depths and grabbed Xiongda. Almost instantly, Xiongda was pulled to the ground. Realizing the danger, he shouted loudly, let go of me, desperately clawing at the ground to avoid being dragged underground. Xiong'er, seeing his elder brother captured by the rats, rushed to save him. But Xiongda, already knowing he couldn't survive, yelled, leave me. Take care of our sister. Then, amidst the sounds of rats tearing at him, he was gradually dragged into the hole. Finally, as the paving stone was replaced, Xiongda completely disappeared from sight. Seeing their older brother killed by the rats, Xiong'er and his little sister cried out, no. Even Tianyu, who possessed special abilities, was exhausted, lamenting, there are just too many rats. He couldn't even lift his hands anymore. The Miaopu team, surrounded by rats, was also clearly reaching their limit. Yuming, due to being enlarged for so long, was becoming increasingly hungry and started visibly shrinking. Even Duanya, seeing the endless rat nest, was considering giving up. He knew that stopping these rats was impossible. It was something only a god could do. But at that moment, Tianyu saw the figure on the roof appear again. Then, Tianyu's pupil shrank as he saw the figure jump from the roof. The massive impact sent the rats in front of Duanya flying. Tianyu felt a surge of hope as he looked at the figure enveloped in enormous purple energy. Could that be the Rat King? Simultaneously, the purple figure slowly raised its head, revealing a ferocious smile. The rats beside him made ZZ sounds, as if communicating something. Then, the purple figure gradually walked towards Duanya. The rat army, sensing the Rat King's aura, didn't approach. But Duanya, looking at this unfamiliar body in front of him, felt incredibly sad, because he knew Suchun had most likely failed. Just as the Rat King approached Duanya, a familiar voice came from within him. Duanya, don't be afraid. It's me. Hearing Suchin's voice, Duanya was overjoyed. Suchin, seeing the purple energy on his hands starting to dissipate, thought, I didn't expect the residual consciousness within the Golden River to still want to devour me. Too bad for it. I won't lose to anyone when it comes to mental strength. Thinking this, Suchin's appearance began to be revealed from the purple cocoon with speed visible to the naked eye. Tianyu was also extremely excited to see that it really was Suchin. Suchin, looking at the exhausted Tianyu, said, Brother Tian, you've worked hard. Seeing that Suchin wasn't the Rat King, the rat army behind them looked at him with hostility and charged towards him. Tianyu shouted, Suchin, be careful. But Suchin merely turned his head slightly and said one word, Bio. The rats reacted as if they had seen something terrifying. The next second, they turned and fled frantically. Almost instantly, all the rats ran back the way they came. The Miaopu team and others, still unsure of what was happening, were amazed by the scene. What just happened? Why did the rats all run away? Tianyu, however, stood there in a daze, unable to believe that Suchin had only said boo, and the rats had been so frightened. Once they could no longer see any rats, they finally realized they were saved. We actually survived. Just then, Tianyu suddenly started coughing uncontrollably. Seeing Tianyu in pain, Suchin hurriedly asked, Brother Tian, what's wrong? At that moment, Union said, what she injected was actually a poison. It makes people incredibly strong, but the more the ability is used, the deeper the poisoning becomes. Seeing that Yun knew so much, Suchin asked her how to save Brother Tian. Yun told Suchin that there was a corpse in Lu Haiyun's lab, and using its blood to make a serum should be able to detoxify him. In front of them, it was determined that this was the laboratory Yun was talking about because she found a very strong sense of oppression coming from the door. It felt like a bottomless black hole inside. As Suchin slowly opened the iron door, the moment she stepped inside, a strange feeling immediately made Suchin realize something. This feeling was like passing through a wall made of mental strength, but Suchin was stunned by the scene inside the lab. Wasn't it said that there was a corpse in the lab? But why was there a living woman in front of her? The woman then said, "You've come, Student Liu." At this time, Suchin thought, "What the hell is Student Liu? You've mistaken me for someone else, haven't you?" As Suchin looked at the glass next to him, it reflected the appearance of Lu Haiyun. He even responded to the woman's words, "Hello, Teacher Xiao." Looking at this scene, Suchin didn't understand how he could have become Lu Haiyun. Could this be an illusion? But no matter what it was, Suchin knew that he had to wake up quickly. Then, Teacher Xiao blushed slightly and called Lu Haiyun to come over quickly. As Lu Haiyun responded with "okay," Suchin confirmed that he must have entered Lu Haiyun's memory. In the memory, Teacher Xiao slowly took off her coat, saying that it was too stuffy in the lab, which made Lu Haiyun's ears turn red. Then, the two began to discuss the experimental results. The crab slave is a common parasite in crabs, a wonderful creature that uses the host to protect itself and coexist. Teacher Xiao explained to Lu Haiyun while exposing herself from behind him, which made Lu Haiyun nervous. However, Teacher Xiao kept moving her hand down, and the next second, she put her softness on Lu Haiyun's face and praised him. I didn't expect Student Liu to not only have excellent grades, but also be in good physical condition. Seeing that Teacher Xiao had made things so clear, Lu Haiyun suddenly seemed to be a different person and said, "Teacher, you don't plan to do experiments properly, do you?" At this time, Teacher Xiao was already riding on Lu Haiyun and said softly, "Compared to experiments, I prefer practice." 2 hours after the two practiced, Teacher Xiao suddenly found that the moon outside seemed a little strange. As soon as she finished speaking, the moon suddenly exploded and global warming began. Obviously, they also experienced the baptism of the doomsday heat wave at that time. As time passed day by day, the food for the two of them was running out. At this time, Lu Haiyun also said that there was not much food left, and he had to keep it. Then, after a few more days, only heard him say, Teacher Xiao had been knocked to the ground by Lu Haiyun. At this time, Lu Haiyun's eyes were red, and he scolded her angrily, "Stinky problem, dare to steal my things. Do you know that these supplies are more expensive than your life?" Seeing that Teacher Xiao was also afraid and said, "Sorry, I was too hungry to hold back just now." Hearing the word, "just," Lu Haiyun took out a sharp knife and said, "If it's really like what you said, I'll be faster, and there's still time. Maybe things haven't been cut up yet. Let me tell you." He waved his knife and stabbed Teacher Xiao. Looking at the food in Teacher Xiao's body, Lu Haiyun made a saintly smile. Sure enough, it's still in the stomach and there is something to eat now. But then Lu Haiyun found that the rats were able to purify after eating Teacher Xiao's meat. Although this violent purification was not perfect. Later, Lu Haiyun even used Teacher Xiao's blood to make detoxifying serum. But what surprised him most was that Teacher Xiao was still alive and her body was still mutating. Looking at Teacher Xiao's appearance at this time, Lu Haiyun sighed. "What a perfect research sample. Your incredible data is not an exaggeration to call it doomsday genes." Later, Lu Haiyun began to pay attention to Teacher Xiao's head. "Let me see what surprises are in your head. Anyway, you won't die, teacher." Then Lu Haiyun laughed and picked up the chainsaw and sawed Teacher Xiao's head. As Teacher Xiao's head was sawed open by Lu Haiyun, he found the golden river he had dreamed of. At this time, a voice repeated in Lu Haiyun's mind, "This is the golden river you want. Eat it quickly. Why don't you eat it?" In the next second, he crushed the golden river and said, "Because this is just a piece of rotten meat." At this time, Teacher Xiao looked at Lu Haiyun with a gloomy face. "How did you find out?" Then Lu Haiyun's face slowly faded away, revealing Xiao Qin's appearance. At this time, he heard Xiao Qin say calmly, "If what I have in my hand is the golden river, you should have died long ago." Seeing that Xiao Qin could break his illusion, Teacher Xiao complained, "Damn it, it's not easy to come to a suitable human being, just a little bit short." But Xiao Qin didn't want to talk nonsense with him and directly reached out and said, "Now I will open your brain with my own hands." At this time, Teacher Xiao asked to don't. "I'm just a poor woman who has been hurt. Don't you just want my power? As long as you let me go, I'll give it all to you." But then I heard Xiao Qin's face sink and slowly say, "Once the crab slave enters the host body, It will take away the host's consciousness, so do you think I will give you a chance? As soon as the words fell, there was a bang and blood splattered instantly. Seeing that Teacher Zhao's body was already dissipating without the golden river, Suchin was relieved that there was no problem, but in the next second, Xiaochen suddenly remembered that he came to find the antidote. This woman turned to ashes. How can I find the antidote I'm looking for? Forget it. The antidote should be in these bottles of potions in the laboratory. However, just when Teacher Xiao was about to disappear, she kept repeating in her mouth, once the crab slave is parasitized, it will form root-like branches in the host's body, connecting to all parts of the host's body and controlling the host's behavior. This parasitic relationship eventually leads the host to become a slave to the crab slave. It turned out that just now, Suchin left that place after harvesting the Golden River at the University of Science and Technology. The surviving medical students followed him, and at this time they were walking on a city street. On the road, Yinyan still didn't understand and asked Duanya, Sister Duanya, where is Suchin taking these medical students? When Yin Duanya also explained to Yu Yun, the escaped Shu people are lurking near the University of Science and Technology, which is no longer suitable for human survival, and these surviving medical students are scarce talents in the last days. So Suchin plans to take them to the resettlement area. Hearing Duanya say this, Yunyan also clicked on her stomach and said with a aggrieved face, does that mean we still have to walk a long way? I'm already starting to get hungry now, saying that she was going to turn around and ask Suchin for something to eat. But in the next second Duanya grabbed her back and told her not to go, but when Yunyan asked Duanya why, she heard Duanya say to her, since you follow us, you have to be obedient, I'm also doing it for your own good. Speaking of this, Duanya blushed and thought of what happened recently at night. She saw Duanya looking at Suchin with a shocked face and asked him what was wrong, but Suchin told him not to be afraid. I'm just a little hot. After saying that, he took a bite, and as expected, it was a night of storms. Thinking of this, Duanya also blushed and pouted, and guessed in her heart that Suchin suddenly became so manic. Could it be the side effects of the Golden River? However, Suchin was sorting out the current situation in his mind. After the flood receded, bacteria, viruses, and even plants would usher in a major mutation. Many resettlement areas have fallen due to the lack of doctors. Now doctors are scarce resources. If they are used well, they can completely establish their own resettlement areas. Even if there are multiple forces in the future, I have the capital to fight against. In addition, this harvest is good. Yun found the production methods of serum and recovery potions. Brother Tian and others can also help me after their bodies recover. All the research equipment and materials in the laboratory building have also been collected by me in space. In addition, the Golden River of the Rat King, in addition to increasing the strength of my berserker ability and increasing my physical strength, also gave me the ice ability, although I can only condense a little ice. But I can find a way to enhance it in the future. Then there's the mutated woman with half a body in the lab. Her golden box gave me 2 mental abilities, but unfortunately, I didn't get the illusion ability. Just as Suchin was feeling a bit regretful about this, Brother Tian suddenly looked into the distance and said, what's that sound over there? Instantly, I activated the first ability I obtained, mental perception. This ability probably comes from a primal instinct for blood, like that of a glutton. I can see the heat radiating from the blood of living things within about 30 meters. As the ability activated, Suchin also discovered it was an ambush by the Taodai clan. However, Miao Pu Yuan suddenly shouted, look up there. At this moment, a woman was hanging on the traffic light above the intersection. The crowd looked at each other, wondering what was going on and who had done it. But a girl in the group recognized the person hanging there. Rue, that's my roommate Rue. She then shouted to everyone, what are you waiting for? That's a life. Go save her. When Yin and Xiao Tian immediately agreed, I'll go right away. However, Suchin told her at this time, don't interfere. Let's go. Hearing Suchin say this, the girl's eyes widened, and she pointed at Suchin accusingly, you're cold-blooded and heartless. Are you even human? Seeing that no one in the group was coming forward, she cursed, you're all not men. But there are always those who don't listen. Several boys, bursting with righteousness, shouted, I'll stay and help her. I can't stand by and watch someone die. Then, under the girl's direction, they started to untie her, muttering, don't worry, we'll save you. However, unsurprisingly, something unexpected was about to happen. The next second, 2 long-eared creatures shot towards the 2 boys. With a thump sound, they took the 2 righteous boys away. Seeing only 2 people left, they panicked. Then, 2 Taoi jumped out of the windows on both sides. Only then did they realize they were trapped. As the ambushing Taoi landed, they praised, "Little girl, you're so kind. With you as bait, we'll definitely attract more people." Then they started touching her, and after they were done, they smelled their hands and said, "That's the scent." He then asked another Taoi, "Brother Shun, can I smell this chick first?" However, the woman naively said, "Please, let me go." The last righteous teenager, seeing the goddess being humiliated, turned around and shouted, "You bastards, let her go." When Yin, Brother Shun directly cursed, "Shut up and die." He swung his axe over, and as the young man's blood splattered, he said, "Food should have the awareness of being food." On the other hand, the woman's clothes had been torn to shreds. "This woman smells so good. How about we keep her and have kids?" At this time, Suchin and the others, who hadn't gone far, also heard the girl's shouts. People in the group were discussing, "That's Xinu's voice. What happened to them? That holy bitch is going to kill us all." At this time, Duanya looked at Suchin cautiously and asked, "The woman just now is bait, right?" However, Suchin directly told her, "That's right, and we're already surrounded by the Taodai clan." Hearing Suchin say this, Tianyu and the others anxiously looked around vigilantly. But Suchin didn't seem to care at all because he wanted to take the opportunity to test that last ability, the control art, and let them experience what it's like to be counter-surrounded. Here they come. Union activated her enlarging ability again. Who did her big hammer want to smash this time? It turned out that just now, Suchin had controlled a large number of zombies to surround the ambushing Taodai clan. Jian Zhuang and the others were shocked to see when these zombies appeared behind them. But these few upstairs were no match for the Taodai clan. They were quickly dealt with. However, when the Taodai looked out the window again, they found that Suchin's group had disappeared. Those few Taodai Jian Zhuang jumped directly out of the window and shouted, "Find them. Don't let them run." But then they heard a voice saying, "You're not going anywhere." Seeing that there was still someone left to die, they planned to kill Suchin first. However, Suchin looked carefree and said, "Too bad the Taodai don't have golden boxes. Let these zombies play with you." Just as Suchin finished speaking, countless zombies surrounded the Taodai. The scene changed, and the group that had gone ahead had arrived at the He City resettlement area. But as soon as the team reached the city gate, they heard someone shout, "Who dares to break into He City?" When Yin Duanyu explained, "We're from the University of Science and Technology, here seeking shelter." Just as Duanyu finished speaking, a figure holding a giant axe jumped out of the city and landed in front of the group in the next second. "We don't take in trash. Get out of here." Hearing him say this, Duanya also got angry and activated his ability, saying, "Isn't this a resettlement area? Why won't you let us in?" Instantly, the strong man's eyes changed color, but he woke up from the illusion in just a second. Then he swung his axe at Duanya, saying, "This psyche ability is indeed trash." Just then, someone appeared in front of Duanya, and it was Xiaofeng from the former Songhu team. "Captain Sun, they're just here seeking shelter. There's no need to fight." However, Captain Sun believed that ordinary people couldn't easily pass through the Taodai territory. "I think they're Taodai spies trying to sneak in." Just as Captain Sun finished speaking, Suchin arrived in time. Regarding his obstruction, Suchin said, "In that case, we'll take these dozens of doctors to another resettlement area." Hearing that there were dozens of doctors, the guards of the resettlement area were shocked because they knew that it was rare for doctors to survive to this day, and this guy had brought dozens of them in one go. Xiaofeng recognized Suchin at first glance. "Suchin, you're still alive." Then he turned around and solemnly told Captain Sun, "They're my friends. I guarantee with my life that they're not Taodai spies. And if Suchin says there are dozens of doctors, then there definitely are." At this time, the 2 younger brothers behind Captain Sun also advised him, "Captain, since Xiaofeng has spoken, let them in. With doctors, we don't need to bury the patients alive. What if we get sick one day?" Captain Sun was actually very clear about the importance of doctors. After thinking for a moment, he turned around and left, not saying yes or no, just saying, "Up to you. But Xiaofeng, if they can't cure the patients, you'll be responsible." Seeing this, the 2 younger brothers happily took the group into the resettlement area. On the way, Xiaofeng explained to Suchin, "Suchin, don't mind. Captain Sun is just like that." Then he said that Suchin's arrival this time was really timely because they had some strange patients here who urgently needed the help of doctors. Then Xiaofeng took the group to the residence of a patient. Lifting the cloth, they saw a woman covered in mushrooms. The scene in front of them shocked Duanya and Yunyun. At this time, Xiaofeng explained, I don't know what these are, but we've tried to clean them up, but these strange things grow faster and faster, and the person is getting weaker and weaker. However, Su Chen knew what was going on with just one glance. He told Xiaofeng, this person is infected with mutated fungi. Plants are mutating now. It's best to remind others to be careful of plant infections and not to get pricked. Hearing Su Chen's words, Yun quickly went to find someone to test it and see if they could find a cure. But Su Chen knew in his heart that this was just the beginning. If they didn't clean up these newly grown mutated plants, they would quickly grow and attack humans. At that time, the Taotai tribe would take the opportunity to attack the resettlement area, and a large number of people would become livestock raised by them. The Taotai tribe's strength is definitely not good for me. If I can use this resettlement area as a base to prepare in advance. But after thinking about it, he decided to wait and see what the situation was here first since he didn't know much about it. Just as Su Chen was feeling a little worried about his future plans, a voice interrupted him. Get out of the way. You lowly people, don't get in the way of this young master. Seeing someone actually firing a gun in the resettlement area, Su Chen asked Xiaofeng, doesn't your Sanghu team care about this? However, Xiaofeng told him that the Sanghu team had been disbanded. Hearing Xiaofeng say this, Su Chen immediately understood that this was the condition for letting refugees into the city. Xiaofeng didn't deny this, saying, that's right. Then he told Su Chen that the guy was the city lord's son. He believed that old people and children were useless to the resettlement area, so he often drove his car to deliberately kill them. At this time, the city lord's idiot son suddenly saw Yun in the distance. I didn't expect there to be new people coming. The next second, he made a turn and stopped next to Yun. Little sister, do you want to get in the car? Brother will take you to eat something good. At this time, Yun was looking at the person she had just injured, and then she slowly got up and said, I'm so hungry that I can't walk. Can you carry me? Hearing this, the city lord's idiot son instantly laughed. Okay, brother can't ask for more. He didn't expect him to dare to attack Su Chen's people, and Xiaofeng was immediately anxious. Damn it, Zhang He, how dare you? Just as Xiaofeng was about to rush up, Su Chen stopped him. It's okay, Xiaofeng, as long as he can carry her. On the other hand, Zhang He was already looking lustful, saying, here it comes. Brother is ready. At this time, Yun's mouth curled up slightly, and she said coldly, okay, brother. The next second, she directly got up, stepped on the wheels of the jeep, and jumped up. Just as Zhang He opened his arms to welcome the beauty into his arms, he saw Yun instantly enlarge and smash towards him. This woman could freely enlarge her body, and then use her 2.5-ton big hammer to smash everything. However, this time she smashed the young city lord of the resettlement area. It turned out that just now, Yun had smashed down at Zhang He, and the next second, her 2 big hammers directly flattened the car. The huge sound could be heard throughout the entire resettlement area. Then Yun returned to her original size and walked towards the terrified Zhang He. Hearing the loud noise, the patrols in the resettlement area were wondering what had happened. Even Bai Tsang, the former captain of the Sanghu team, was curious about what the sound was. At this moment, Zhang He's legs were out of control, and he was sitting on the ground. Then Yun walked to his side with a smile, stepped on his leg, and said, young city lord, I gave you a chance, but you're useless. As Yun stomped down, Zhang He let out a painful scream. Soon, the patrolling personnel arrived here. Seeing that people had come, Zhang He quickly pointed at Yun and shouted, monster. She's a monster. She transformed into a giantess just now and broke my leg. Make her leave. At this time, Duanyu was also worried that Yun would suffer a loss and directly activated her mental suppression ability. Then the 2 patrolmen's eyes instantly turned red and said, young city lord, you clearly fell off the car and broke your leg. We all saw it. Hearing this, Zhang He went crazy. Shut up. I understand. You're all in cahoots to trick me. I'll have my dad kill you. After saying that, he used all his strength to shout, Dad, help. At this time, Captain Sun, who had just stopped the group from entering the city, revealed an evil smile and said, this is going to be good. Soon, a military vehicle stopped nearby, and there were several armed personnel standing beside the vehicle. Seeing that the city lord had really come, Xiaofeng reminded Su Chen to be careful. Just as the car stopped, a person got out of the car, and the first thing he said after getting out of the car was, who can tell me what's going on? When Xiaofeng quickly wanted to explain, saying, City Lord, my brother brought dozens of doctors to seek refuge, but the young city lord he wanted to. Before Xiao Feng could finish, Zhang He shouted at his dad, "Dad, kill them. They broke my leg." However, what everyone didn't expect was that the city lord directly slapped Zhang He and then scolded, "I've told you many times, treat every person who comes to us kindly. Don't put on the airs of a city lord. Always remember that we are just citizens of the people, fighting to protect everyone here and make everyone who comes here feel warm." Jian Zhuang and the group that came with Su Chen all admired that the city lord was so strict with his son. Some people even thought that perhaps staying in this resettlement area was a wise choice. Then they saw the city lord publicly salute everyone and sincerely invite everyone to stay and build this place into a dream home together. "We will provide you with the best food and the most generous conditions." After this wave, many people expressed their willingness to stay. Some people even shouted, "Long live the city lord." Even Xiao Feng Wenyin happily told Su Chen, "Great, now everyone can stay." But when he turned to look at Su Chen, he found that they had disappeared. The scene changed, and by a campfire, Yun was still asking, "Why don't we stay and see if the city lord is bragging?" However, Duanya told him, "If you hadn't broken the city lord's son's leg, we could have stayed and watched." Hearing Duanya say this, Yun was a little worried. "So the three of us are sleeping in the woods tonight?" After saying that, she leaned towards Duanya with a blushing face and asked softly, "Sister Duanya, it's my first time. Can you teach me?" Wenyin Duanya sighed directly and said, "What are you thinking? I don't even know if we can sleep tonight." Hearing this, Yun exclaimed, "You guys are too energetic." But just then, Su Chen interrupted the conversation between the two. "Stop messing around. Someone's coming." Then he said loudly, "Friends over there, come out." At this time, the people who had been lurking nearby were a little surprised that these people were so vigilant. But since they had been discovered, there was no need to hide. Then a team of more than a dozen people walked out of the shadows. "You've offended the city lord. Did you think you could escape?" Hearing that a few people actually thought he was going to run away, Su Chen laughed. "I just didn't want to start a massacre in the city and accidentally injure the warehouse team people." When a few armed personnel thought Su Chen was joking. "You kid is unarmed and wants to start a massacre?" A younger brother with a gun even said, "Don't waste time with him. Let me kill him." But the next second, they saw Su Chen directly punch the upper half of that person's body into slag. Jian Zhuang, the leader, was stunned. He can actually smash people with one punch. Then the alliance shouted, "Shoot him! Kill him!" But before the crowd could react, Su Chen directly opened the way with his twin swords as usual, ending the battle in less than half a second. At this time, the leader was already scared out of his mind and begged Su Chen not to kill him, but Su Chen asked him a question. "What kind of transaction are you making with the Taodai?" Wenyin, that person, asked Su Chen in surprise how he knew. But this wasn't the answer Su Chen wanted. As the sword got closer and closer to his eyes, they heard him say, "I'll talk. I'll talk." The city lord has indeed been in contact with the Taodai. They have been conducting secret transactions here every week. The city lord uses refugees to exchange for food with the Taodai. Hearing that they were actually trading living people with the Taodai, Yun was so angry that she punched him directly. At this time, the leader also explained that these guards were also temporary refugees. "The city lord will never leave a survivor. I've told you everything I know. Can you let me go now?" But Su Chen told him with a smile, "Don't worry, I need your help with something." At this time, a few people had arrived at the transaction location that the man had mentioned. However, suddenly a loud shout sounded, "Didn't we agree to exchange for food? What are you doing?" They saw a Taodai grabbing a man by the neck and saying, "I'll throw those stinky grains at the entrance of the resettlement area before dawn. As for you, of course, it's the old rules." After saying that, he bit into the man's neck and then pulled hard, pulling out his spine. This scene stunned Duanya and Yun. At this time, the leader also explained that these guards were also temporary refugees. "The city lord will never leave a survivor. I've told you everything I know. Can you let me go now?" But Su Chen told him with a smile, "Don't worry, I need your help with something." Just now, the little guy from the resettlement area was struggling while tied to a rope. A strong Tao clan member was wondering why someone was hanging there, and even planned to beat him to death and take him back to eat. Gaudi immediately threw a punch at him, landing squarely in his abdomen. He instantly coughed up a lot of blood, but the next second, they saw the rope being pulled upwards. A voice emerged from the darkness, saying, "You broke my new toy." Upon closer inspection, they realized Yun was in her enlarged form, standing before the Tao clan. Afterwards, Yun directly grabbed one of the Tao clan members intending to use him as a new toy. However, the other Tao clan members noticed that there were people lying in ambush upstairs. At this moment, Duanya was holding a sniper rifle, preparing to shoot from the building. Because Suchin had said that the Tao clan had mutated further, and that their skulls were now so hard that bullets couldn't penetrate them, Duanya wanted to test if this was true. With that thought, Duanya fired 3 shots in a row. Although the Tao clan skull was indeed very hard, they didn't expect Duanya to hit the same spot with all 3 shots. As expected, the last bullet directly blew the Tao clan member's head off. Conversely, the one being held by Yunyun was still struggling desperately. However, as he broke free from Yunyun's grip, Suchin, who was behind him, had already dealt with the last one walking towards him. Sensing the killing intent from behind, the Tao clan member turned around to look. The next second, Suchin didn't say a word and threw a punch directly. After Suchin and the others solved the problem, they found a room nearby to rest for the night. At this time, Duanya was still asking how he discovered the deal between the city lord and the Tao clan. However, Suchin said he had heard about many resettlement bases doing this sort of thing before, and today he was just testing it out, and didn't expect to actually encounter it. Duanya then said, her face flushed, "Actually, if you want to build a resettlement base, you can find another place. There's no need to wade into this mess." But Suchin said that building a base takes time and effort, and he's not good at that sort of thing, so he has to find someone reliable and skilled at doing this kind of thing. And that person is in his city. Just as the two were still discussing it in depth, Yunyun came out after taking a bath and changing clothes. Seeing the two of them, she said a little angrily, "Sister Duanya, why did you start without me?" Seeing this situation, Suchin was instantly at a loss. What are you two going to do? However, Duanya and Yunyun said, "Because of you, we can live like human beings in this apocalypse, so let us serve you well tonight." The next day, City Lord Zhang saw the bald man who was seriously injured by the Tao clan and mistakenly thought that there was a problem with the deal with the Tao clan, so he immediately rushed to the Tao clan tribe. At this time, inside a building called Taifa Supermarket, the Tao clan leader was questioning the City Lord Zhang, "Your subordinate was seriously injured, and I lost 3 warriors. As compensation, you must send me double the number of living people in the future, otherwise the deal is off." But just as the City Lord's subordinate questioned the Tao clan's request, he was stopped by the City Lord, who then said, "No problem, we'll go back and prepare right away." After walking out of the Tao clan base, City Lord Zhang was still analyzing. Since the bald man's matter was unrelated to the deal, it must have been done by that person named Suchin. He went back to execute all those doctors, and he wanted to let him know that people who opposed him wouldn't have a good end. On the other hand, inside the Tao clan base, that little guy was saying to the leader, "Those women break too easily. Why don't we have them get more women next time to let the brothers have fun?" The leader smiled evilly, praising his idea as good, but just as they were happy, a voice suddenly rang out, "Are you the Tao clan who are trading with City Lord Zhang?" Seeing Suchin's delicate skin and tender flesh, the Tao clan planned to eat him and taste him. The Tao clan leader glared at him, saying, "You came to my territory alone. You're quite bold. Quickly tell me, what do you want to do in my territory?" However, Suchin's face turned cold at this time and said, "I'm here to invite you to come with me." In the city resettlement area, City Lord Zhang once again took the stage to give a speech. "Everyone, there are traitors in our base." Then he pointed to Tianyu and the others and shouted, "It's these outsiders. They posed as doctors and infiltrated the base, but secretly kidnapped the refugees here and exchanged them with the Tao clan for food." At this time, City Lord Zhang thought, "Suchin, I'll kill all your people, and I don't believe you won't show up." But just then, a person walked out of the crowd. This person opened his mouth and said, "As far as I know, Suchin is a very reliable person. These people were brought by him, so there shouldn't be any problems." Other people also recognized the speaker as General Gao, and some were even surprised that who is that Suchin, that even the general is helping him speak. Hearing this, City Lord Zhang shouted loudly, "Gao Wei, you want to protect them, but you have no proof. How can you prove that they are not traitors?" However, the next second, a figure suddenly appeared on the roof and shouted, "I can prove it." When everyone looked up, they found that the person was Suchin. At this time, General Gao was also seeing Suchin for the first time. Then, they heard Suchin say, "City Lord Zhang, why don't you let him tell us what's going on?" Conversely, Suchin was holding the Tao clan leader in his hand, begging for mercy. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Could it be that this guy Suchin wiped out the entire Tao clan tribe? Then, they saw Suchin sternly tell the Tao clan leader to speak louder. I want everyone to hear clearly. Hearing this, the Tao clan leader quickly shouted, "It was City Lord Zhang who traded with me." Hearing this answer, everyone was discussing that the City Lord turned out to be that person, who turned out to be a beast. He turned out to be the real beast. Seeing that his bad deeds had been exposed, City Lord Zhang panicked and quickly explained that this was a slander. He had colluded with the Tao clan. But at this time, General Gao had already walked up to him. Accompanied by a cry of "You beast," General Gao directly gave him a fist. Seeing that there was no room for maneuver, City Lord Zhang directly gave up and laughed loudly. What's the problem if I did it? Now is the end of the world. There are not only mutated creatures outside, but also man-eating Tao clan. Obviously, as long as a few lowly people die, everyone can be supported. Why should we work hard? I'm doing this for everyone. You should be grateful. Why should you criticize me? The next second, General Gao told him to shut up and punched him directly in the face. At this time, Suchin looked at the fallen City Lord Zhang and said lightly, "Using other people's lives to save their own life, there's nothing to say in this dog-eat-dog world. But you're wrong to think that everyone is as cowardly as you. I don't bother to live in a resettlement area like you. So who is interested in building a new base with me?" Here it comes. Suchin officially invited General Gao to build an apocalyptic base. But can they leave here safely? Just now, Suchin recalled that in his previous life, he had traveled all over the ruins and finally arrived at that haven, which was a utopian base, with no class shackles, no wailing of hunger. Everyone could have enough to eat and their hearts could be relied on. All this beauty came from his creator Gao Winnie, and now he is just the deputy city lord here, and he decided to build his own base until he found the dark side of this base. I just want these to happen in advance. At this time, Bai Kang Wenyan next to him also said that building a base is too difficult, but Captain Bai Hu believes that if we want to do our own thing, we can't rely on others anymore, and building a new base is indeed the best way. Just when everyone was struggling, that City Lord Zhang laughed loudly. "Do you think you are saviors and want to build a new base? Now there are zombies everywhere outside the city, and you can't even guarantee the most basic food and safety. Isn't this letting everyone go to their deaths?" Even the trash Zhang he next to him said arrogantly to his father, "If they want to leave, let them go, and they will come back to beg us when they suffer." At this time, the crowd had already begun to discuss, and some people said that the outside world is so dangerous. "I don't want to die. I would rather be a coward so that I can at least live." Wenyan will be resurrected with full blood and shout again, "Listen, if anyone really believes their dreams, then I will be generous and let you leave, but we have to make it clear that if you leave here and starve to death, I don't care." But just then, Suchin finally spoke up. "Isn't it just food? Is this also a problem?" Hearing Suchin's words, some people accused him of saying it so easily. But when they saw the Tao clan leader at his feet, everyone suddenly felt that something was wrong. This Suchin can bring the leader of the Tao clan tribe out, so he should be able to bring the food out. I heard that he is a power user and is very strong. Seeing that everyone is going to turn against Suchin again, Zhang He roared, "Suchin, do you think you are a savior? Don't make a fool of yourself here. Do you know how much supplies a base needs?" However, Suchin said that I don't have many supplies, probably enough for 2,000 people to maintain for about a month. Wenyan will suddenly feel that something is wrong. According to what he said, wouldn't it be about the same as the supplies in my warehouse? Where did this guy get the supplies? On the other hand, at this time, two members of the base suddenly felt as if someone was there. The next second, Union suddenly descended from the sky and rode on one person's shoulder, and then she could carelessly activate instant kill, and after killing the two, Union wondered and asked Duanya, "Suchin is so generous now. He is going to take out so many supplies to build a base," but Duanya told him that Suchin just emptied the warehouse in this base, and then the two found a location to set up a sniper rifle, and told Suchin and the communicator that they were ready. When Suchin said, "General Gao, it's time to make a decision," but General Gao, who has been suppressed for a long time, said angrily at this time, "I thought that these people had given up enough in order to survive. But in the end they were still sold as livestock. Such a place I can't stay for a second. Suchin, I decided to build a new base with you, and the brothers who were willing to leave with me. Gao Wei, please stand up and build a base where everyone can live with dignity, instead of living like a dog here." As soon as General Gao finished speaking, the captain of the Tsanghu team and the Baihu team shouted to assemble, and the members of the two teams ran quickly towards General Gao, and Zhang Qinju was really panicked when he saw it. And even scolded the bastards for what you were doing. You are the city lord's army and I am the city lord. You must be loyal to me. Seeing that General Gao's team has already assembled, Zhang Qinju even regretted and roared, "Who do you think you are? You can't leave without my permission." The next second, the city lord's army raised their weapons directly at General Gao, and at this time, Zhang He suddenly picked up the machine gun hidden under the tower and began to shoot at Su Qin. While shooting, he shouted, "Su Qin, you trash. If you didn't bring people here, my legs wouldn't be surrounded. Today I'm going to kill you." As a bullet streaked across Su Qin's cheek, he heard Su Qin say he was looking for death, and the next second, two flashes rushed to Zhang He, and then directly lifted Zhang He up. Looking at Zhang He who was about to suffocate, Su Qin said lightly, "Zhang Jianshu, let the city lord's army put down their guns, or I will break your son's neck," which undoubtedly caught Zhang Jianshu's pulse. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Jianshu shouted for everyone to put down their weapons. Seeing this, Su Qin turned back to look at General Gao and asked them to take the refugees away and leave it to him. When General Gao didn't grind and said that he would wait for Su Qin at Shangyun University, but just when the two were talking, Zhang Jianshu looked at his 10 subordinates with his eyes, and then looked at Su Qin and said, "Su Qin, they all left. Now you let my son go, and I'll let you go. How about we take a step back?" But the sniper Zhang Jianshu arranged on the roof was ready. But how could these escape Su Qin's eyes? Then he turned on the communicator and told Duanya to defend the top 12 o'clock direction. Hearing Su Qin's instructions, Duanya quickly raised his gun and aimed at the direction, and the next second, he pulled the trigger directly, and with a bang, the sniper Zhang Jianshu arranged was instantly headshot. Hearing the gunshot, Zhang Jianshu immediately realized that Su Qin had also arranged a sniper. After solving his worries, Su Qin said, "City Lord Zhang, I agree to your proposal just now and return your son to you. But I have another question. Is human flesh delicious?" Zhang Jianshu's face changed suddenly, but when he looked at Zhang He who was thrown over in his arms, he found that a grenade was placed in his mouth, and as expected, the next second, there was a bang, and then he saw Zhang Jianshu grab Zhang He, who had been blown off half of his body, and roar, "Su Qin, I must kill you." At this time, Su Qin, who had already planned to leave, looked at Zhang Jianshu from afar, thinking that this was the same as the rumors in the previous life. Zhang Jianshu was a Tao person hidden among humans. But he didn't expect him to be a second-level Tao person, and next time we meet you won't be so lucky. Just now, a team member shouted to pay attention to the whole team. The supermarket where Su Qin said the supplies were is in front of us. Our goal is to kill the Tao clan inside and bring the supplies back to our new base. However, just when everyone rushed out to prepare to attack, the scene in front of them made them all stunned in place, because the Tao clan here seemed to have been killed. Then they found that the supplies they were looking for were in the car, and the mailbox was full enough for them to drive back to the new base. Seeing this result, several people sighed that Su Qin really didn't lie to us. There really is a car of supplies here. However, the captain's son, who was leading the team, said disdainfully, "I thought I was going to have a big fight, but I didn't expect it to be such a simple task. It's really a waste of time." Wanyan's younger brother added fuel to the fire and said, "I heard that the general gave the important task to Su Qin, but you used to be responsible for this kind of task." Hearing the younger brother's words, Captain's son was even more angry and said that Su Qin was just a pretty boy and also deserves to compete with me for credit. However, on the way back to the new base, Yun was anxiously watching the distance and asked Sister Duanya, "Why hasn't that stupid cat captain come back yet?" At this time, even Duanya was impatient and said that the Tao clan in the supermarket had already been killed by Su Qin, and they just need to drive the truck back. Even a fool can do this job. However, Yun said helplessly that whoever worries about them, isn't it Su Qin who asked us to be responsible for the medical care of the refugees? I'm afraid those people will starve to death first. Just when the two were complaining, Duanya suddenly found a truck coming towards this side from a distance, and Duanya quickly told Yun that she could finally go back. In a blink of an eye, the team had returned to the new base, and as soon as they went back, Captain's son quickly reported to General Gao that the supplies had been transported back, and the surrounding refugees were discussing that they had really found the supplies. It seems that Su Qin didn't lie to us. He can really solve the problem of food. Su Qin is really our savior. Hearing these words, Captain's son's face had become ugly to the extreme, thinking that Su Qin, that pretty boy, doesn't know anything else. but he is very good at brainwashing people. At this time, a member of the guard team suddenly reported that there are traces of Tao clan activities in the hospital not far to the south of the general, and it is estimated that it is a Tao clan tribe of dozens of people. Hearing this, Captain Sun, who was standing nearby, immediately felt his chance had come. Su-chin, this time I'll show you who the real protector of everyone is. Next to an abandoned building, a person is loudly interrogating someone. You're going to move the armory? At this time, Baitsang says, there is a military base nearby, but the entrance there was flooded long ago. I estimate it's become a death trap full of water ghosts. Xiaofeng adds, even if we got in, how much could the three of us carry? But Su-chin tells them, you don't need to worry about that. Just take me to this armory. Seeing that Su-chin is serious, Baitsang has no choice but to agree. I've been to that base before. I'll go with you. But we need to get a car first. The armory is pretty far from here. However, before Baitsang can finish speaking, Su-chin raises his hand, which is glowing with a blue light, and says, the car problem is simple. The next second, a yellow SUV appears in front of them. Seeing this, the two exclaim, is this frickin' magic? Then, guided by Baitsang, the three of them drive towards the armory. At a lake, someone is angrily cursing. Damn it, how can I not drain this water? I refuse to believe this evil. Go pick some useless goods and throw them down there as bait for those water ghosts. This person is a subordinate of Zhang Jianshu from before. The reason he's so anxious is because the city's supplies have mysteriously disappeared. If he doesn't get more supplies, he's as good as dead. Before long, several people are thrown into the water. The leader then announces the water ghosts are attracted by the bait. Now, whoever goes down there and pries open the door, I'll have the city lord reward him with her woman. Just as he finishes speaking, a person steps forward from the crowd. Before the apocalypse, I had no money and no woman. Now that it's the apocalypse, I'm going to risk it. Just as some of them are about to risk it for the woman, Su-chin and the others arrive. Xiaofeng immediately recognizes that those are the city lord's men. It seems they're also targeting the supplies and weapons in this base. However, Baitsang says he knows a shortcut that can avoid the city lord's army, but they have to dive in. The three of them, led by Baitsang, dive into the water. But before they can swim far, Baitsang's expression suddenly changes in shock because there are countless eyes staring at them. Discovering that they are water ghosts, Baitsang immediately gulps a mouthful of water in fear. Just as Baitsang is about to run out of oxygen, Su-chin swims to him and says softly, don't be afraid. Baitsang is stunned to see that Su-chin can speak underwater. Then, Su-chin directly bites him, providing him with oxygen. But just as Baitsang is enjoying the process, his eyes suddenly widen because he sees that they are surrounded by water ghosts. Just as several water ghosts are about to grab Su-chin, Baitsang uses all his strength to protect Su-chin in his arms. At this moment, Baitsang, holding Su-chin, is prepared to sacrifice himself for him. But to his surprise, nothing happens for a while. Looking back, he sees that the water ghosts have all stopped. Looking at Su-chin, Baitsang notices that Su-chin's eyes are glowing red. This leads him to boldly guess that Su-chin might be able to control these water ghosts. Just as Baitsang is amazed by this ability, he hears Su-chin say calmly, now, the hunt begins. It turned out that just now, the water ghosts controlled by Su-chin were tearing each other apart. Seeing that there were still a few rushing towards them, Su-chin immediately told them to go ashore first, and he stayed to cover them. Seeing this, Baitsang and Xiaofeng didn't hesitate and swam towards the surface. They were stunned to see the corpses of the water ghosts gradually floating up behind them. They thought, Su-chin can even control water ghosts. Is he really human? How many unknown tricks is he hiding? Before long, Su-chin slowly walked out of the water, then spread out his palms and complained, so many water ghosts, but only one white box. This burst rate is too low. Hearing Su-chin say this, Baitsang wanted to scold him. To get a white box in such a short period of time, and he still thinks it's too little? Although white boxes can't give people abilities, they can increase the power of existing abilities. But at this moment, a pair of eyes suddenly appeared in the darkness, staring at the golden box in Su-chin's hand. The next second, it pounced and snatched the golden box away. Su-chin was puzzled as to why there was a cat here. But Baitsang told him that cats were raised in the base to prevent water damage. It seems that this cat was trapped in the base but survived the apocalypse. This cat is quite powerful, actually able to steal the golden box from Su-chin. Then Su-chin took out a bag of dried fish and looked at the black cat with a smile. Little guy, you can't eat that. How about I trade you this? But before Su Chen could react, the black cat snatched the dried fish away again, then walked towards the depths of the passage. Seeing that he had been robbed by a cat twice, Su Chen was so angry that he almost gritted his teeth. Sure enough, anything that can survive the apocalypse is not simple. At this moment, Baitsong took the lead in finding the power switch and flipped it on. Seeing the lights in the passage turn on, they were pleasantly surprised. Lucky, the power system is still running. Then they walked towards their target, the armory. As they walked, Baitsong talked about what he knew. Before the Great Flood, the survivors evacuated urgently, but the supplies here definitely haven't been taken away yet. Before long, they arrived at the place where the weapons were stored. Looking at everything in front of them, they knew that these weapons were enough to arm a team of 500 people. If we can find a tank, we could probably arm 1,000, but the problem now is how do we take them back? The city lord's men could come in at any time, and it's impossible to go back and call for reinforcements now. Just as Baitsong was worried about these things, they suddenly heard a loud boom. Looking in the direction of the sound, they saw a tank driving towards them. Xiaofeng, inside the tank, was screaming in horror. Su Chen, Team Bai. I found the tank, but there's a monster chasing me. Help. This scene obviously shocked Su Chen and the others. Then they saw the monster running directly towards Xiaofeng's tank. The huge impact almost flipped the tank over, causing Xiaofeng to scream even louder. Think of a way. If it detonates the armory, we'll all die. At this moment, Su Chen shouted, "Space open." The next second, all the weapons and supplies disappeared instantly, taken into his space. Seeing Su Chen's actions, Baitsong was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Even the black cat that stole his stuff was stunned. Seeing this, Xiaofeng shouted, "Su Chen, your ability is so cool. But can you take the monster behind me into your space too?" However, Su Chen told him that he couldn't take living mutated creatures. At this moment, Baitsong directly planned to rush up and distract the monster so they could evacuate first. The next second, Su Chen grabbed him and picked him up. However, Baitsong said that the supplies were all in Su Chen's space, and he had to ensure that Su Chen could safely return to base. Just as the monster was gathering energy, preparing to attack again, Su Chen jumped up on the spot as it fired, landing in a safe area. Then he told Baitsong, "Stop dawdling. I'll deal with the mutated beast. You go see if Xiaofeng is okay." Hearing Su Chen's order, Baitsong had no choice but to obey, but before leaving, he still anxiously told Su Chen, "Don't you die." At this moment, Su Chen looked at the monster in front of him and felt a little strange, because he had never heard of a mutated beast like this near here in his previous life. It turned out that just now, the people outside the armory also heard the sounds coming from inside. After listening carefully, everyone realized that it was the sound of explosions. The next second, a minion suddenly shouted, "Boss, the water level is dropping rapidly. The explosions must have cracked the bottom." Hearing this, the leader scolded angrily, "Bastard. It seems someone is competing with us. How dare they play tricks under my nose? Kill them for me." But after he finished speaking, the minions didn't respond. Turning around, he saw them staring ahead with silly smiles, saying, "Boss, it's a rabbit. We haven't had meat in a long time. How about we eat rabbit meat first?" At this moment, a rabbit in front of them in the grass was looking at him with a smile, but that smile made the boss feel uneasy. The next second, the rabbit roared, and its huge shadow enveloped them. At this moment, everyone's pupils dilated instantly, and then their expressions became exactly the same as the rabbit's. On the other hand, Su Chen in the armory was swinging his fist at the monster. However, Su Chen's powerful strike didn't cause any damage to him. Instead, the monster turned its head and aimed at Su Chen, preparing to attack. As expected, Su Chen easily dodged this attack. At this moment, Su Chen looked at the monster in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, the bodies of these level 2 creatures are comparable to steel. Like Zhang Jianshu, the level 2 glutton, he was unscathed even in the face of that kind of explosion. In comparison, my body strength is still too far behind. As he said this, the monster raised its hand again and grabbed at him. As Su Chen jumped to dodge, he had an idea of how to deal with it, which was to get rid of the parasitic vine rooted in his brain. But before Su Chen could try, countless vines shot out from the monster's body, wrapping him up completely, immobilizing him. After fixing him in place, it began to gather energy again, preparing to blast Su Chen's face. But after it fired, it found that Su Chen had disappeared. It turned out that he had used a space exchange at the critical moment, which is how he avoided getting directly hit. However, just as he was racking his brains to think of how to kill this guy, The cat that stole Su-chin's golden box walked up from behind him. Seeing this, Su-chin told him, "It's dangerous, don't come over." But seeing the cat's golden eyes and the golden aura emanating from its body, Su-chin began to suspect that this guy might also be a mutated beast. At this moment, Bite-song on the other side was calling out to Xiaofeng in the ruins, "Xiaofeng, are you okay? If you hear me, say something." Then suddenly a voice sounded from behind, "Team Bai, I'm okay. Fortunately, I dodged quickly, or I would have been turned into mincemeat." Seeing that Xiaofeng was okay, Bite-song breathed a sigh of relief. "It's good that you're okay. I'll get you out of here." However, before Bite-song could start, he heard a strange sound behind him. Shouting, "Who's behind me?" Bite-song turned around to take a look, then noticed that something was wrong with these guys. As the people walked out of the shadows, Bite-song gradually saw the strange smiles on their faces. The next second, the monster walking in front let out a loud roar. The scene switches to Su-chin's side. At this moment, the mutated cat's body was rapidly growing larger. 1 foot down, the floor tiles were shattered. This sudden change obviously caught Su-chin a little off guard. Looking up, Su-chin didn't expect this guy to get so big. However, the mutated beast didn't attack Su-chin, but ran towards the cannon spirit. At this moment, the two mutated beasts, as if they were mortal enemies, simultaneously let out angry growls. Looking at the scene in front of him, Su-chin suddenly realized, "It seems you guys are mortal enemies." Sure enough, two tigers cannot share a mountain. Then he walked up to the mutated beast and said, "You snatched the golden box so you could win and get here, right? Seeing that I've shown enough strength, you want to team up with me? Then, as you wish." As soon as he finished speaking, Su-chin jumped up and sat directly on his back, shouting, "Then let's go together." It turned out that just now, the mutated cat saw Su-chin riding on its back and roared angrily. However, after hearing the cannon spirit's roar, it could only team up with Su-chin first. The next second, the big cat roared and charged towards the cannon spirit. As it swiped its paw, it only saw countless sparks, not causing much damage to the cannon spirit. At this moment, Su-chin saw that the monster was unscathed and shouted, "That won't hurt him. We have to coordinate. You use your speed to get to his side and attract the attention of the vines. I'll take care of the rest." At this time, the cannon spirit had already begun to gather energy, preparing to give them another blast. As it fired, the big cat dodged with Su-chin on its back. But this blast broke the outer wall of the base, causing lake water to pour in. However, now wasn't the time to consider these things. The next second, the big cat charged towards the cannon spirit according to Su-chin's instructions. As the big cat got closer and closer, the vines on the monster shot at it, but these vines were torn apart by its sharp cat claws. Seeing that the big cat had completed its task, Su-chin was also ready to take action. Then Su-chin swung his fist and punched at the cannon spirit. Unexpectedly, this punch landed firmly on the cannon spirit, and the huge power directly sent it flying several meters. This stunned the big cat. Fortunately, I didn't offend him just now. At this moment, they looked at the cannon spirit. Although it wasn't killed by this blow, it was already staggering when it got up again. Then the one human and one cat planned to take advantage of the victory and pursue. The big cat tore apart a piece of Su-chin's main body. 2.5 minutes later, there were very few vines left wrapped around the cannon spirit. After Su-chin's final blow, the monster's entire head was shattered, and a pink golden box flew out. Seeing that its mortal enemy had dropped a golden box, the big cat's mouth was already hard to suppress, but it didn't expect Su-chin to snatch the golden box directly. Holding it in his hand, Su-chin was still saying, "This time, the golden box is ours." Then, amidst the big cat's curse, he threw the golden box into his mouth. At this moment, the water flow from the wall that had been broken down was even greater. Seeing the water increasing, Su-chin knew that the armory had also been submerged. Now that the wall had been destroyed, this place would soon be submerged. But the next scene stunned Su-chin, because he saw the big cat struggling painfully in the water. After lifting it up, Su-chin sighed and said, "So you're afraid of water? How about you follow me in the future? I'll take you out." Hearing that Su-chin wanted him to be his underling, the big cat was unwilling for a moment. Seeing this, Su-chin threw him back into the water, saying that that was it. Seeing that Su-chin was serious, he quickly jumped onto Su-chin, thrashing about. Hearing Su-chin ask again, he had no choice but to reluctantly agree. Looking at the big cat's helpless appearance, Su-chin smiled and said, "This is your choice. I didn't force you." On the other hand, Bite-song couldn't kill those guys no matter what. Every time they were killed, they would continue to stand up endlessly. At this time, Xiaofeng in the tank was still shouting, "Team Bai, the tank can't start. Don't worry about me. Run." However, Baitsong helplessly said, "Where can I run? Let's solve these problems first." But when he turned back to face those guys again, he saw a rabbit. Looking closely, Baitsong discovered that it was absorbing the energy in the corpses. And just as Baitsong's attention was drawn to the rabbit, two tree-like tentacles emerged from behind him. Seeing Baitsong in danger, Xiaofeng shouted, "Team Bai, be careful behind you." But just as he finished speaking, countless tentacles had already sprung out from around Baitsong, tying him up tightly. As the giant rabbit got closer and closer, Baitsong knew that he had been careless. But just as he was already desperate, a tank suddenly appeared and crashed into the rabbit, and then Xiaofeng roared from the tank, "Monster, go die." As the cannon fired, the monster was instantly shattered. Seeing the rabbit monster had been killed, Xiaofeng finally breathed a sigh of relief, but just as he exclaimed this, the golden box dropped.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and see you next time.